Dear all, a very warm welcome to the virtual presentation of the 4th edition of Realty Plus Woman Icon Conclave 2024. I'm Sapna Srivastava, editor Realty Plus, and friends, this conclave once again has set out to highlight the importance of gender diversity in workplace and will also bring the views of women professionals on their respective business approach. So we have an eminent guest list of speakers who will be joining for discussions on themes ranging from role of leadership in bringing gender diversity to the challenges and opportunities facing Indian real estate, as well as the emerging models of business in the sector. But before we begin with this conclave, let me also inform that the Realty Plus Women Icon Awards 2024 will be held on June 13th on Thursday from 3 p.m. onwards. So with that very important information, let's begin the proceedings of the day with the auspicious Ganesh Mantra.
Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada.
On that positive note, let's take a look at the brief introduction of Realty Plus.
Some people are born to show the world which path to choose in a crisis. Some brands are born to do the same. And during the times of challenge, the stalwarts of the Indian real estate industry have chosen to do just that. By showing others the way to finding opportunities even amidst a crisis. By showing the world how to go about delivering on promises even amidst adversity. Success doesn't just happen. It happens by design. By pushing the boundaries, by raising the path.
It takes days to develop a vision and nights to make it a reality.
Knowing that pictures are worth 1,000 words and that every word makes a difference. It's doing the research, trusting your instinct, and finishing what you started. For the past 19 years, Realty Plus has been turning obstacles into opportunities, keeping the industry informed on the latest developments, innovating to inspire debates and discussions, bringing forth the perspectives of the industry leaders, honoring hard work and achievements,
No, the video has not started.
keeping the
Video has
industry
stopped.
connected.
Yeah, it says you have disabled it.
Oh, it's not started.
This is what we are built on. This is what we are building. We are Realty Plus, and we lead the way.
So this was a brief snippet of what Realty Plus does and what are our latest initiatives. For those who are just getting associated with us, do get in touch with Ms. Tripti Kedia, publisher and business head, Realty Plus, to know more about us. Coming back to today's event, it is now being live streamed on the Realty Plus website, www.rprealtyplus.com, and Realty Plus Facebook and Realty Plus LinkedIn page. So we also take this opportunity to thank our organization for its support, business media partner, BW Business World Media Group, and online media partner, exchangeformedia.com, and the event is organized by Team Realty Plus. We now go on to the insightful sessions with the eminent women professionals that have joined us here today, and I hand it over to my colleague Purti Punch to introduce the first eminent set of speakers.
Thank you so much, Sapna. Dear all, so it's our very first discussion of the day, which is diversity dialogue on role of leadership in driving change. And this session will be chaired by Benita Dalal, who's a founder and managing partner at Mount K Capital and head of raising Rustamji Group. Benita Dalal oversees the fundraising and the development of the projects for the investee companies. She has over 17 years of experience working in the real estate finance and development fund management industry. So Benita is currently a managing committee member at CREDAI, MCHI, and co-convener of CREDAI Youth Wing. So introducing our speakers in the alphabetical order, I welcome first Abha Singh, who is an advocate, social activist, and former bureaucrat. Former civil servant turned lawyer, Abha Singh presently practices at the Bombay High Court. She is a renowned social activist known for the considerable work in the realm of women's rights, gender equality, and justice. Her NGO, Run Summer Foundation, works primarily in rural areas, providing vocational skills to women. Second in the list, we have Ms. Amrita V. Chaudhary, who is a co-founder and CEO from GAIA. Amrita is a business strategist, engineer, and innovator, serves as an independent, non-executive director on public listed boards of Simons Marshall, Nesco, Mahindra Lifespace Developers, and ZF Commercial Vehicle Control Systems, and on the subsidiary boards of Mahindra World City Jaipur, Mahindra Industrial Park Chennai, World City Developers, and Mahindra Homes. And third in the list, we have Dr. Anar Mehta, who's a social activist, entrepreneur, and a global ambassador. Dr. Mehta is a founder of Srishti Bharat NGO, co-founder Hello Womania, a digital media platform for women, National President of NRI Council at Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So President of MSME and Startups Forum, Bharat Gujarat Chapter, and also a representative of Nari NGO based in Baroda. Fourth one, we have Radha Ramanujan, who's a Chief Financial Officer from UDS Group. Radha, a CFO for 20 years, has more than 30 years of corporate experience. Her versatile experience ranges from startups to large conglomerates in diversified business like IT, hospitality, FMCG, manufacturing, retail, and QSR. She's an angel investor and has explored all types of investments, and the latest being crypto. Fifth in the list, we have architect Urmila Rajadhyaksh, who is the honorary president, Indian Society of Landscape Architects. Urmila, a landscape architect with nearly 30 plus years of experience, especially in urban landscapes, has worked with governmental organizations at various scales, ranging from civic bodies to ministries, as well as non-profits and funding agencies, funded by international and national bodies. I once again welcome all the dignitaries to this panel, and I now request our moderator to please take over the proceedings.
Thank you so much, Purti. Thank you, Sapna, Tripti, and the entire team of Realty Plus. You guys are rock stars, and as a women team, you all have constantly upped the bar for all real estate awards. So it's so happy to see you guys organize one more women's conclave and rock it in every way. Good afternoon, ladies. I hope all of y'all are comfortable once we
Good
start
afternoon.
this conversation. So I'm going to kind of make this a little interesting, and I'm going to start off with, while Purti has introduced all of y'all, why don't actually y'all, uh, you know, take a minute and kind of just run through your life journey, because it's extremely inspiring to see such a great panel of women achievers, and it will be really nice to know what was the story which led you all to come here. So let's start with Abha. You could you just kind of tell us your life story in a snippet?
Yeah, I think Benita, that's a lovely idea. I mean, when now people introduce me as one of the top lawyers in the country, and I look back, my journey, I started as a civil servant. In fact, I started as an activist. I was in JNU doing dharnas, morchas, also studying international relations, like very vocal. I was always a very vocal student. And then I got through the civil services. I worked as a custom officer for 4 years. Then I shifted to the postal services. Did 20 years. While I was working in the government, I realized that to fight for justice, you need to know law. So, in spite of having children, two children, like I think my son was 13, my daughter was 6, I went and registered myself in Bombay University. And while working, I did law. And the sole purpose of doing law was to stand up against injustice, to be the voice for the women. And I'm glad to say that my 10-year trajectory as a lawyer is marvelous, not only from the Salman Khan hit and run case, where I ensured he got 5 years imprisonment in the Sessions Court, to Shah Rukh's Baroda accident, to AIB roast. I was the one who got that FIR on Karan Johar and all, that AIB roast case. So if you just Google, you will find all the big landmark cases. So here, a woman born in Uttar Pradesh, which we say is backward, small state, girls are in Parda. So from there, being born in UP and now in Mumbai and international level, I've been a TEDx speaker at Oxford, Columbia University, New York. So I would just say God has been kind, but yes, my message today is raise your voice and stand by your gut feeling.
Wow, that's such an inspiring story, and a very, I would say, esteemed list of people that honestly got the real side of law just by your efforts. So kudos to you on that. Dr. Anar, can I come to you and ask you for
Yes.
your small snippet?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Benita. Hi, everyone here out here. I'm getting lots of positive vibes and energy today. I'm Dr. Anar Mehta. I'm based in Gujarat, Ahmedabad. I'm actually an NRI. I'm a US citizen, but my Karma Bhumi is India. So I'm more or less based in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. But like once a year, 3 months, I'm there in USA. So I'm a US citizen. I just wanted to tell my story. I'm a single mother. I had lots of hardships when I parted my ways. I have my son who is a computer engineer and done masters in Boston University. Now he's working for Apple. So I'm just overwhelmed by his things. So I'm like very proud mother. And what made me into the Women Empowerment NGO? My NGO is based in Ahmedabad, which works for all women-related initiatives. The single mother criteria made me work for women and work for women rights. So I have received PhD from Delhi World Human Rights Commission. I'm also of BJP global member. I'm Somnath Trust trustee. And I work in rural and urban areas in all women-related initiatives like skill development, financial literacy, gender equality are my core. And I was my NGO was a volunteer for Gujarat government during COVID epidemic and I worked under the IPS Anil Prathamji. We really worked hard for all the women, all the single mothers, foreigners, women. So my passion is to just empower women-led development.
Wow, that's so nice and inspiring. And I'm sure you would have come across really inspiring women in your journey, being a single mom and kind of being so proud about your son. Kudos to you on that. Kudos to you on that. I'm gonna now break the alphabetical way, and I'm gonna ask Urmila Rajadaksha to please come in and kind of just give us her life snippet.
Thank you, Binita. So, I'm Urmila Rajadhyaksh, today a Mumbaikar, but I hailed originally from Kerala. And in fact, during my early days, I was something like an educational nerd, quiet, with my nose in my books, and that was me. You'd hardly see me speaking out anywhere. But all of that changed when I became an architect, because the program in architecture was such that you had to do all kinds of unexpected things, fend for yourself, do a lot of things. So that was the beginning of the change. From being an architect, I went on to do my master's and become a landscape architect. And in 1995, found my way to this 1993, too actually, found my way to the city of Mumbai, the city of dreams, as they call it. And one wonderful thing about Mumbai is actually that, whatever you determine for yourself, you do find the means to do it. So and in fact, though our topic is of gender diversity today, I found Mumbai a much better place for women and I must say that in our country than elsewhere. And I've lived in a few cities there. So starting new city, new place, I've built up my career, worked a lot in heritage landscapes. And the thing about our career is that you end up interacting with a lot of different people. So right from the labor who executed your work to your clients and patrons. So which have ranged from individuals to government bodies to, I've worked in the Prince of Wales Museum here in Mumbai. And we were lucky to get an award for it, the UNESCO Asia Pacific Award. So it's been a full life. And in fact, I am a happily married woman with 2 children doing well in their own lives. So I would say that, it's also been, the family has been also a backup for me as I went along. So, well, that's me here. Thank you.
Nice. So nice to hear that. And, it's good to see someone with so much passion towards architecture and ancient architecture coming from Kerala to Bombay. Good part is you're still on a coastal place, so you still have the nice coconut trees, but too many tall buildings to complement it. So, yeah. I want to pull in Amrita and request her to give us her life story as well.
Hi, first of all, delighted to be here and with everybody. So I actually grew up in Patna, and from there went off to IIT Kanpur and then UC Berkeley and later on Carnegie Mellon. And along the way, worked in innovation in California, got some US patents out of the work that I did in semiconductor manufacturing. And then moved into strategy consulting, working with Fortune 100 companies in the US and then in Australia, came back to India, wrote a couple of books on the way because that's one of the passions that I've had in life. Books of fiction initially, and before veering more towards nonfiction and other kinds of writing. Then, when I was back in India, I was heading a few different businesses, and we started my company almost 9 years ago with the vision of bringing in tech into the space of our built environment and built operations, and seeing how man and machine can come together in this interface, because when we are looking at our built environments, it's actually an interface between business, government, and society. And in different ways, we use tech to really revitalize and reimagine what the spaces and the operations and the services can do for us, whether we are citizens or consumers. So, that's who I am. I love the space that I'm in. There's a lot of activity, and along the way, I started joint various boards. So that's another hat that I wear. I am a mother as well of 2, so lovely to be here.
So nice to hear that, and very, very interesting having so much tech and semiconductor experience, the buzzwords of today and the need of this country. But so happy to have you as well. And I'm now going to request Ms. Radha Ramanujam to please come in and give us her life story.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here. I thought I'll miss this opportunity, but somehow I managed. I'm professionally currently a group CFO. I work for Bluetooth Services. I'm a mother, a grandmother. Of course, I like to be a good daughter and wife as well. I've been working in corporate world for almost 30 plus years now. I had an opportunity to work with large companies like Reliance Retail, Landmark Group, FMC. I have a mix of experience. I worked in IT sector, I worked in hospitality, I worked in FMCG, manufacturing, retail, QSR, and now in the facility management space. I got married quite early and I did both my professional exams after marriage. I got through them in first attempt that I still feel proud about it. Have got some awards, Superwoman Achiever, Most Influential CFO. I also got award in Exemplary Human Leadership in Supply Chain. I didn't have a single day break in my career, though I call myself to be a traditional Tambra. That's about me, and nice to be with all of you.
Wow, that's very nice to hear. I must say, you know, being a mother of two, getting your degrees after you've settled down in life and continue to kind of go up the corporate curve is quite an inspiration, and we're so happy to have you as well. I'm just going to take 2 seconds and introduce myself so that you guys have a bit about what I do and why I have been chosen to, in a way, grill you all, if I may. So I come from a real estate background. I started off in education, set up the Rustomji Business School while I was going through my training in real estate, and then joined the real estate business in Lehman during the crisis. Started off in operations, right from architecture, costing, contracts, planning, redevelopment negotiation with societies, acquisitions of land, got the entire rundown, and then finally, thanks to the Lehman Brothers, found my niche in finance and continued to manage fundraising for the group for about a decade and a half. And after raising more than $2 billion and multiple partnerships, I then decided to start a fund management business for the family. And I now founded the fund management, which is India's first, I would say, development fund management platform called Mount K Capital. And now I head that as part of the business for Rustomji. So that's me. Why I love the sector is because I think real estate is one sector which across centuries can boast on the fact that it's one part of this earth which continues to survive. And maybe a couple of centuries down, a couple of generations down, someone can stand up and say, this building was made by this person at that point in that era. So that fascinates me a lot. And I love the entire part of real estate. And that's why I kind of, love being a part of this and every part of it. And money is something I really like to manage. I think if people really understand money, they understand everything that works in a business. So that's about me. But I'm going to start jumping into questions, to make this a little more interesting and learn about all your inspiring stories. So I'm going to actually start off with you, Amrita. You mentioned about tech and you mentioned about a lot of things that you've kind of seen across the years. So from your experience as a CEO in the tech industry, what are some industry specific challenges that you kind of felt on gender diversity, if at all, and how did you overcome them across the years?
So, women in tech is actually quite a conundrum, right? Because if you see in India, at least, about 50% or more of the graduating class is women. Around the world, the number goes down a little bit. So if you're looking at the US, it might be maybe closer to 30% rather than 50%. But still, it's a substantial number. At the other extreme, when you look at tech industry CEOs, today we have from industry bodies to a lot of tech companies, you do have women CEOs. Similarly, across the world, there isn't a very large number, but there are enough women CEOs that you would hear about and made examples of. What happens is what we call the missing middle. And that's has been the challenge always and continues to be, where women do join the workforce, the 50% graduates do join the workforce, but there is a very steep drop-off, and that drop-off doesn't get addressed. And then that leads to a smaller pipeline and a pool of people as you keep getting into leadership roles, and even fewer when you get into the CEO and the board level roles, right? So that's the big challenge. And the way I see it, it's multiple factors, right? Multiple factors. Today, what we see is that from a ecosystem perspective, from a government perspective, there seems to be a lot of push towards bringing women into the forefront in every industry, right? So the policies are today favorable. If you see many institutions and large organizations, there's enough sensitization that something needs to be done. Whether they walk the talk or not, at least they talk the talk, right? And the challenge still remains that both from a societal perspective, we do need those examples and the family systems, ecosystems that do propel the girl child and the working moms and the young married women back into the workforce and encourages them to stay there. And the women themselves need to have that ambition and drive to be there. And it's not just tech, right? I do get a perspective into the real estate industry as well, because I'm sitting on the boards of some large real estate companies. And here the numbers are actually starker. At an aggregate level, you do see women in design, you do see women in architecture, in finance and marketing, but in the core, construction area, you still see fewer women. Actually, finance, maybe you can answer more. There are fewer women in finance and real estate as well, right? So it is an endemic issue, and I think it requires the triumvirate of stakeholders, so as to speak, like in a society, the ecosystem, as well as the individual, to ensure that they participate effectively.
Very well said, and absolutely right. I think it's the individual and the organization that has to make it comfortable for women to kind of grow in, which needs to work both ways. It's always a two-way win-win situation. I'm going to actually pull in Abha. You said that you kind of wanted, as a social activist and a former bureaucrat. In fact, you mentioned the postal services, being a very different place. I've not seen anyone, actually, I've not seen a celebrated bureaucrat in the postal services. So, how was it for you? Because I think there at that point in time, even the government did not have too many reservation bills and so on and so forth. And working in the postal services would have been across the country. So I just want your perspective, and how did you kind of work your way through over there and leave that mark?
When the UPSC result came out and I got Indian Postal Service, people said, oh, I think there are only dakiyas, only postmen. People knew only postmen, nothing beyond that. So telling them that, look, you're a class 1 officer, you're from the UPSC. It was really funny, because they couldn't believe that there is an officer. So
because it's a postman. It is so made. It's called postman.
Yeah. Even the official coin term is postman, no postwoman. So while I was working in Mumbai, it was different. It was equality, equity, whatever you say, no gender bias and all. But subsequently, I went as Director Postal Services, Uttar Pradesh. There was actually, I found that there were not toilets for women. You're going for inspections. And I was virtually living in Lucknow, and my post offices were in Raebareli, Sultanpur, 250 kilometers. So I would go in the morning, do the inspection, come back to my
and then
home
go
or
to
office.
washroom.
Then go to the washroom. So then I realized how difficult it is for women to work in in such type of job. Then, what happened? We had some gender, we had some postmen had died while on duty, other post officer so their wives needed jobs, and there were no government jobs like that. So then I asked these women, I said, I have only vacancy for postmen, but will you be my postwoman? In Lucknow, I got the first batch of women postwomen. I said, you are in Gunat, but you will to deliver a letter in an unknown house. Do you have the courage? Because if you are ready, I will give you the job of your husband under the compassionate quota. So, it was a big thing in Lucknow, and I'm talking of 2006-07, that you had postwomen, 8 postwomen joined in Lucknow, and they said, no, we have to take care of our children. Our husband have died. We are going to distribute letters. So that is what I call empowerment. That from a Ghungat housewife, you're a widow, but you're ready to take on the society.
That also in Lucknow, before the cleanup.
Yeah, before the, so this is what I felt was, something very empowering. Then second, when I would go for my inspections, I would find there was no electricity. 2005, 6, no electricity. Going for inspections with a candle light or a lantern. So first time I put up a solar panel on my post office in Gauriganj. People are talking of solar panels now. In the year 2006, I put up a solar panel. I said my post offices have to work. We have put computers. I'm going for inspection in a candlelight or a lantern. I'm inspecting. So these are the changes which I brought about, and I feel it need not be a man who can make the changes. A woman can also do it. Like you said, you need to love money, and if you want to manage money, you will make money. So, this was my, and in fact, that time the Times of India Lead India campaign happened. And from being in the government, I won the scholarship, a Chevening scholarship to go to London School of Economics. Can you imagine? I was 18, I was graduation in LSE. So I feel there is no bar for you, and this is history. I would in the department. Now you have Secretary Government of India who's a woman. You have a Chief Postmaster General who's a woman. Because when we have joined the Class 1 services, we will be like I left 10 years early. And today also I would have been in the government. I would have been an additional Secretary Government of India. My batchmates are Chief Postmaster Generals. They are additional secretaries Government of India. But I feel no, I have been able to change lives. I've been able to touch lives. For Maharashtra being such a progressive state, the widows of manual scavengers had never got compensation. If you Google Vimla Charotia, there was this widow who lost her husband who was cleaning a septic tank. I walked up to her house, became her lawyer. My daughter was there with me that time. She was practicing. Now, I didn't mention my children, but I'm a proud mother of an IPS daughter. My daughter's in the Indian Police Service. I mean, that bold she is, like that she joined as a cop. But that time she was a lawyer. Pro bono, she fought for the widows. And Bombay High Court ordered these women were given 10 lakh compensation overnight. A state which had not given any compensation for 30 years. We got them compensation from the High Court.
Awaz,
In fact,
looks
now
like
I have widows from
the,
Pradesh that look, we not got any compensation. I set up a website called Ask Assistance for Safai Karamcharis. Pan India widows get in touch with me. They say, Madam, 500 1000 के लिए हमारे हस्बैंड आपका सेप्टिक टैंक साफ करते, आपको लगता है हमारे पास पैसा है कि हम कोर्ट कचहरी जाएगा, वकील करेगा. So that is what I feel. When I was in the government, I made all the changes that I could. But now when I'm out, I am doing a bigger change which I'm managing through the courts.
That's I think the right use of Indian law is happening through you, and I'm so happy to hear this story. It's extremely inspiring and very overwhelming. But I think the weather and the network of Leh is ensuring that your voice to us is coming a bit cracked. So my suggestion would be you can keep your camera off sometimes. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna actually pull in Anar, and I'm gonna ask you, like, being a single mother working with MSMEs and then working to empower your son to go and join Apple. What were the few successful strategies that you implemented for women-led startup ventures, and how do you kind of support them?
Actually, Benita, he did masters. He did bachelor's here in Ahmedabad at the Indus University, which is based in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. So 4 years he did masters, and then after that he went to Boston for his masters in data analytics and computer science. So after that, he didn't even realized that he's going to get in Apple. But I know as a mother that his dream was to get into the good IT company. So he 3 to 4 months he really really tried everywhere, like startups and MSMEs there, and even he was ready to work off IT company also and all that. But he was very persistent, and actually I also really motivated him truly. And there you have recruiters in US. So you have to propose the resume and everything there. So in US, the startup system is actually quite different, and Apple is a quite renowned company, and but startup principles won't apply there. So he was very persistent, Benita, in applying in Apple, and at 3 to 4 places he got a job, but he said, no, I'm going to wait for the Apple company to recruit me. So 2 months he was jobless, but he was very persistent, and I also motivated his dreams. Actually, and every mother should support their children's dreams. So I said, if you are okay, then you don't want to accept other jobs, you just wait and be persistent, and always God is with you. And then immediately after 4 months, he got a job. So he shifted to San Francisco, and he got a job in Apple. But I really wanted to highlight that challenges actually confronting today's women entrepreneurs are that I really wanted to top 7 hurdles I've listed down for the women entrepreneurs in India. Should I go ahead with it?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so when launching and running businesses, women entrepreneurs in India encounter several obstacles. These challenges often deter them from getting started, and many more companies either never take off or shut down shortly after opening. Let's explore some 8 of the most prevalent challenges faced by women entrepreneurs in India. So first is, I think, is gender gap in financing. That's very important, Benita and everyone. Assessing funds is crucial for starting a business, but it's tougher for women entrepreneurs in India. About 90% of them can't secure financing from traditional institutions because they lack collateral, security. Traditional practices favored passing property and financial rights to male heirs, leaving women without assets in their name. Bank and government agencies have yet to be very supportive of women's business need, often viewing them as less creditworthy than men. This results in higher interest rates on loans, with women entrepreneurs being 30% more likely to need a guarantor. I look at the perspective of the single mother, so we have to be very careful. So, moreover, men-led business generally secure more venture capital, while women entrepreneurs often turn to microfinance loans and self-help groups for financial support. The second one is the management challenges and gender bias. Gender bias in the business world often surfaces in management roles. Women in such position may face stereotypes that challenge their authority. What may be seen as confidence in men is sometimes as bossiness in women, making it harder for them to assert themselves. The deep-rooted societal biases will still suggest that certain tasks or industries are better suited for men, which can lead to women not receiving the recognition they deserve. When women lead teams with male members, they may struggle to have their instructions taken seriously due to questions about gender-based authority. Furthermore, the perception that women are less capable can result in unsolicited advice from individuals who believe they know better. This can be frustrating and creates additional challenges for women in management roles. The third one is work-life balance challenges. Balancing work and personal life can be a significant challenge for women entrepreneurs in India due to several key factors. The first is societal expectations, lack of family support, meeting expectations, stress and burnout, how to balance personal and professional life. And the last one is limited industry knowledge. Many women entrepreneurs in India face hurdles regarding industry knowledge and opportunities. So, you will find fewer women-owned startup in areas like production or technology or science, fewer. This situation is partially due to persistent gender stereotypes in India, which often label women as the weaker sex and suggest that physically demanding tasks are better suited for men. In practical terms, I think this can limit a woman's ability to be actively engaged in certain industry that requires hand-on work, hindering her progress. The recruitment can also be challenges. Women entrepreneurs may struggle to hire women for roles traditionally seen as men's work, further limiting opportunities for women in various fields. The fifth will be the building support network, which is quite challenging for women. And the sixth is safety concerns, where I run my NGO for the women-led development. I know the Ahmedabad is a 2-tier, 3-tier state, but metro cities like Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, the safety concerns are very important, and we have to be very careful. It's a big concern for women entrepreneurs in India, with several important aspects. With increasing crime rates, many women are going out in the evening or at night can be tricky. Safety worries are real because some women have faced domestic violence, sexual assault, or worse, just for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. This fear of harm affects their decision, and their families often push them to prioritize safety over their business. Women-owned businesses also face a higher risk of theft and robbery, partly because people think female business owners are more vulnerable. They think this safety concern are a major hurdle for women entrepreneurs in India, influencing their choices and limiting their opportunities. And the last one would be, the challenge would be the limited risk-taking. Taking risk is a core component of entrepreneurship, but Indian women often have limited experience due to family obligations and societal norms. Critical decisions like where to live or travel are typically made by husbands or family members, limiting women's exposure, making tough choices, and handling the outcomes. This lack of independence compared to men makes it challenging for women when making a crucial business decisions. While both genders usually seek family counsel and approval before starting a business, men may have more leeway, while women cannot afford the same spontaneity. In many cases, the married woman must inform their husbands before investing, even if the funds are accessible. Unmarried and married women may also need to consult with their fathers, brothers, or their husbands. While challenges exist, women entrepreneur can still find success with the address, but just a push more or a hard work more is necessary. The women entrepreneurs might face specific challenges on their path to success, but the growing number, the good side is a women-led business prove these obstacles can be overcome. Connecting with fellow female entrepreneurs is great way to build a robust support system, potentially introducing use to women investors interested in supporting your creative ideas, even in male-dominated industry. Being true to yourself and expressing your unique voice can lead to a success in business and beyond. Here at the address, we understand the unique challenges women entrepreneurs in India, and we really want, as my organization, Sri Bharat Foundation, I really want women to overcome these challenges and obstacles and push a little harder. Always dream big, always achieve your goal, and be very firm. Thank you.
You're on mute, Vinita.
I'm so sorry. I'm like, thank you so much, Anar. That's really nice, and so happy to see the effort you've put in to put everything together. you've covered the entire eco space, like right from the fact that home to marriage to past ways in which women are there, and the fact that they've been always told that they are not equal and they are less than equal, and how people should kind of look at it differently. Thank you so much for that, and it covers the entire eco space. I'm gonna actually now bring in Radha, and I'm gonna go with you, Urmila, last. Okay. Um, Being in the corporate world for so long and being part of so many boards and being part of, so many different places, um, there's always this chatter about, the glass ceiling and boards not being too many women or corporates not having too many women. And it's always been a suit, led initiative, and now having facilities management, where a very large part of it is having women on site in terms of the cleaning and taking care of properties. Um, how have you dealt with diversity as far as your voice is concerned, and how is it that you've seen the change in the corporate world, and what kind of initiatives were taken by you in this entire journey?
Okay. Thanks for this question. It was quite challenging. Like, even when I started my career, I was in a manufacturing company. When we go to the audit and other thing, the entire factory will have only the male toilet. So you leave, and factories are always outskirts of the city. So you leave from your hotel in the morning at 7:38 for a factory and reach back, and don't drink a sip, even to drink a coffee tea, you will be hesitating. Where do I use the washroom? So I did pick up a lot of kidney stones during my earlier days, trying to manage not drinking water to avoid going to the washrooms 20 years back. But those were all good learnings. Maybe I keep telling people, sometime when you're hungry, you need to be shameless. When it is your health, you need to say on the way you drop it, you just go to any of the restaurant and use the washroom. You can't expect the factories to make a washroom just because one woman is coming one off for an audit or an inspection like that. So initial days used to be tough, but as and when I started growing in my career and taking leadership roles, I felt it's very important as a women leader, I must encourage women to join and help create certain facilities that will make women to come and work peacefully in the organization. Even you mentioned about the board initially, from 2023, when I was a CFO, I used to be representing the company in the board as a CFO. And I used to be the only lady in the board. When I joined a very large corporate, they were telling finance is very tough, time bound, you have to face various government authorities, last minute travel, defending. How as a woman you can be a CFO? But I've managed everywhere. I used to be the longest serving CFOs in those companies. So one thing I did as a leader is, yes, you cannot change, you cannot get diversity just like that. As and when somebody leaves, I ensured the replacement used to be women. Huge resistance from my male colleagues. They will say, ma'am, she will join. And then within 1 year, she say, I'm pregnant, or my mother-in-law pressure, father-in-law pressure, accounting is time-bound, audit is time-bound. I cannot have women in my team. So my job was not just onboarding women, but I ensured they perform at par with men. No emotional quotient, crying or exceptional. As long as we are paid at par with men, we better work at par with men and accept. We have that smartness. Just that I keep advising them, we are beautiful, so we get attracted. Just take care of your costumes that help protect. We do get tired few days in a month, which is inevitable. And I keep telling them, plan your travel, plan your business meeting in such a way you don't do hectic travel when you know you're going to be sick in those days. So I ensured, they plan their timing well, even if they have family pressures. I tell them, go home 6 o'clock, spend time with your children, husband, put them to sleep. 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, finish your work. I don't want them to hanging around in office till 9 and then go home at 10 and then get harassed by people. Be with them, but make that extra 1 hour. Because you're multitasking, you enjoy being a career woman, it helps you a lot. So spend that 1 hour instead of 9 to 10 watching a movie. Why don't you finish your pending task? So you're safe at home with your people, and your colleagues also feel that you're responsible, you're helping them in finishing the target, you also excel. So some of these advices I used to give them and then be part of them. The other thing also, what we did is we were in a manufacturing setup. We again said, why not add women in the factories? Why only in the corporate setup? And being in finance, I used to give a lot of stringent target for cost cutting and other thing to all my factories. And we experimented with onboarding two lady security guards there. Yes, the guards came in, but now they came with the 40 lakhs budget to me. I said, why 40 lakhs? They said, we have to create a washroom for them. And it cannot be along with the men's washroom. So this washroom had to be created in a place which was one corner of the factory, the other side. So you had to lay the pipes, washroom. But then I said, am I stupid? I onboarded two ladies security guard and they're coming with a 40 lakhs budget. What do I do? But then a smart way to strategize is just to use the washroom. I said, let us onboard another 10 women in the packing section. So effectively utilize the washroom, and we got about 14, 15 women. And then that became a habit. They excelled well, and lot more women started coming. So my advice as a senior leader is we need to lead by example. We just cannot say, talk about gender diversity, help partner and help them be a success. Even when we onboarded the security guard and, packing, I keep telling them, you should not do this. You should not be sitting. If a man is traveling, walking around, strolling, you should also do it. You need to be competitive. Try and sleep well, eat well, but when you're a security guard, behave like a security guard. Don't say, I am a woman, I want to be sitting, I want a chair. Then you lose your competitive edge. So I promote them to be as efficient as men and started getting them more and more wherever I go. That's my way of life.
Wow, that's really nicely put, and I think it's only brings out the perfect message, which says that you have to be at par. You're at a level field game. Only then you have the competitive advantage. Very, very nicely put. And I'm so happy to hear all the things that you've done in the corporate world to bring women out in manufacturing. And I think the no women bathroom story is common across every place, including banks in the rural areas. So yeah. Urmila, I'm going to bring you in, and then we'll have all common questions for everyone. I just wanted to know, you're a renowned landscaping artist and landscaping architect, and you kind of have, created the perfect symphony to make cities and landscapes in buildings and across the border look beautiful. And it's very tough to bring as easy as it may sound, a landscape architect is kya hai? To just figure out the right grass and put it in a couple of places. But it's actually a symphony, because you need to kind of know what will grow, how will it grow, how it benefits it, and so on and so forth. I don't even know if there are too many gardeners over there which are women today. And how have you kind of created your niche over there? Because everyone always looks at it as a gardener. And a gardener, again, is a very male word. It doesn't have women in it.
So, Vinita, you actually hit the nail on the head when you said that a lot of people look at it as a gardener's profession. We used to call ourselves educated Malis because that's how the world looked at us. And
again, Mali is a male name.
Absolutely. So the interesting thing is that, at least at the time that I studied, people didn't really look at what the profession would bring in, but you chose professions out of interest because you also had limited exposure. You kind of looked at what you saw around. So by the time I graduated and came back, I was often faced even with the question that, do you really want to work? Which was like, are you mad? You've studied 5 years of architecture, 2 years of post-graduation, and then you get asked these questions. So, but the profession of a landscape architect is still seen as a more flexible profession. You're not in a 9-to-5 job. It's associated with you building your own practice and hence being able to probably streamline your time more. So I'm not too sure that works in actual life. So a lot of women, incidentally, do find their way to becoming landscape architects. And then what also happens is that only about 50% or less of them find their way into the profession. And this is a growing problem. Because what also happens is that it's very much centered around a particular person. You build up a practice around yourself. So you need to be there for things to happen. And this is something which is a little bit of a problem with the kind of responsibilities that our own cultures put on women, and probably we accept them as well, without even batting an eyelid that ye to karna hi hai. There are certain, home is something which you need to prioritize. And that is something which we take as a given without even thinking. In fact, that was the first thought that came to my mind when I was invited here. That we just take things for granted and accept it as we go along and work around it. So the thing that I actually brought into my life is we work as a lone person. You don't really have forums. So that was where the joining of the association, that first form, became quite important for me. And what I actually helped and even spoke about, I'm an educator. So in that, what I really put forth is that you need to be there for each other. Okay, you're competing in this world out there, but there are times when you need each other and you need to be there for that. So even learning to work together, collaborating with other professionals, and not seeing yourself as like most landscape architects are seen as side consultants to an architect who kind of leads the project. So looking at yourself as somebody who brings in something which is worthwhile to the project and an important part of the project. Building up, your own image and understanding that you're important for the project. So that's your professional relationship. And the other part of it is that you can design on paper, but you need to get your work on the ground. And when you work on the ground, you deal with a labor force in our country, which is completely unorganized. All of us who have worked with will be well aware of this. And which is also a very male-dominated place, where many of them find it very difficult to take orders from a woman. So finding your way around this, subtly sometimes, maybe sometimes outright, conveying that, you're the boss and that's how things have to be made, is something which has been a challenge, but it's a skill that you pick up along the way. And a skill that I've also encouraged the youngsters, my students and other people to build up. So that's probably how, along the way, I became the president as well of the Society of Landscape Architects. What also happens is the perception of landscape architects is mostly related to gardens, like you said. But our actual training is also into ecology and environmental planning, where we look at how a landscape should really be used, like in a city, and what it needs to be protected and what needs to be kind of really looked into. And a lot of the problems that many of our cities are facing now, it's either the climate change and the heat, or it's the rain which is battering us, and the floods which come up out of nowhere is due to the kind of development that's been happening. So that is, along with all this, is something that we really try to make our voice heard. So I guess that's why the gender diversity aspect of it seems to be a slightly lesser problem than the more important part of getting your work done across.
Your voice heard. I agree with you. I agree with you on this, because this is some place where when you talk about art and symphony, women come in very easily over there. So, thank you all you ladies for this. But now I'm going to kind of open up the floor and have like all common questions for y'all. And the one thing that I really want to know is that while women are known to be multitaskers and women are supposed to kind of, I think when there is a professional woman, it comes with an added responsibility where it's a given at home that you're also supposed to be a home manager. I want to ask one question on that, and then I'm going to have one question where how women leaders are changing the roles and in growing more women and so on and so forth. But the first question I want to ask you guys is across your experience, being mothers and working in rural areas, like you said, Radha, you said you had issue of kidney stones, and Abha went to places where there were no toilets and women toilets and all. How was that journey, and how tough was it at that moment, and what was your inspiration to kind of keep going? Because the biggest problem that I'm seeing in corporate India is that once women deliver and somewhere corporate India doesn't make the journey of a woman who's taken a break for about a year coming back easy. They're always looked at, a voice which can be shut down. So they're like, okay, ho gaya 1 year, so they won't come back. And when they come back, either they are replaced or their role is given to someone else, and then they have to start from scratch. So how was that for you all, and what do you think we should do as corporate India and as any organization to kind of ensure when a person takes a break and they come back, how is their journey easy?
Benita, I'll come in here and I will say government that way is the best. Now we have something called childcare leave. 2 years full paid salary. Apart from a maternity leave of 6 months, full pay, along with that, you can add up without pay leave of 2 years. It does not affect your promotion or your job prospects. And later on, till your child turns 18, any time you can take 2 years leave, childcare leave. So I think corporate India needs to learn from this, because if you see the Fortune 500, you will not even have 25%. I was reading somewhere, not even 10% are women CEOs in the Fortune 500 companies, because primarily, even though they have all the degrees, they come, but when the children happen, they drop out and they lose their seniority. One thing is they lose their seniority, and second is lack of ambition. These are the two things which, in spite of women being sharper than men, being multitasked, they have more empathy and compassion. These are the things I feel are the basic ingredients of success. Having all that, they don't reach the top. So the corporate India needs to learn from that. And another thing, as a lawyer, I have also noticed sexual harassment at workplace. See, in government, your job is safe. Even if your boss messes with you, you will go complain and nothing will happen to you. I'm handling two cases where not only the internal complaints committee, the chairperson was terminated, but in another case, the woman was terminated because she came forward and she complained of sexual harassment. So the law is defective. Private sector, you have hire and fire. So when the rule of 1 month notice is there, so women who come forward and say we are facing sexual harassment, so if the Cozy Boys Club feel that this woman is too argumentative, raising issues, they lose their job. So this is where, through your seminar, webinar today, Vinita, I would like this thing to go out. That corporate India needs to make its women safe at their workplaces. I have filed a PIL in Supreme Court. Then Chief Justice, the Supreme Court just said, go back to WCD Ministry, get the laws changed. But the laws have not been changed. So a chairperson, an ICC committee member, I will ask Radha Ramnujan and Urmila Radheshev, if you have an internal complaints committee in your company headed by a woman, and that chairperson, because she gives a strong order whereby a senior vertical head, a boss, a male boss is terminated, what happens to the chairperson, woman chairman? That woman chairperson of ICC was terminated within 1 month without even giving a notice. When I went to the court, they happily came, and it's a blue chip company. They say, oh, we have the hire and fire rule. So corporate India faces a lot of problems. And I'm glad that women achievers leadership in this corporate India are raising their voices. They are realizing the issues that women need help. We need to hold hands. You need to have a justice system. You need to know the laws. You need to be strong. Come together. And pro bono, I have taken both the ladies' cases and I'm fighting in the Supreme Court. So that is what I want to say. Leadership is all about making space for yourself, remaining firm, and getting justice, whatever may be the cost. You may lose your job, but in the journey called life, you will end up winner.
So if I can offer, it's fantastic, right? But let me just offer a different, complementary but slightly different point of view. So I think young women actually need to put themselves out there as well, in terms of contributing and being there and not sort of shying away. I'll give you my example, when I went back to work. So strategy consulting is extremely time intensive. We typically tend to travel a lot. So Monday to Friday, you're traveling. That's the norm in the US or anywhere in Australia as well. And so I moved into a role that didn't require me to travel. So it was but at the same time, I knew that I had to put my hours in. And so we had a conversation with, I had a conversation with my company and I said, okay, fine. A couple of days, I will leave on time. And a couple of days, I will be willing to stay till 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. because that is the expectation of that role that you put in, it's not one job. It is 2 jobs that you do. You work 2 shifts almost as a strategy consultant. So you need to be willing to do that. And one of the mentors that I had early on in life told me that make it a comma, don't make it a full stop. right? And that's really like, very important, that you need to keep, being there, keep actively engaging, keep like, saying that I can take on challenges and take on those challenges with competence and with that effort that you need to put in to ensure that you're doing the job well. So like there are the exception cases, yes, like where you do face sexual harassment, but many of us, like it's just the regular rigors of being there in that journey and ensuring that we do well. And in that in that journey, we need to be present. We need to be present fully and more than present. And sometimes that's the challenge, that women don't, they're not present enough.
So
Interesting.
I
Very
just like to
interesting.
come back to what
I
Abha said.
really like to
if I
say
may.
that
Okay.
innovation, just 2 minutes. Innovation often begins with a vision. As a good leader, and visionary leaders are the architect of this vision. They possess the ability to see the current state, envisioning about the future could and should be like. By articulating a compelling vision, innovation leaders inspire and motivate their teams to embrace change as a pathway to achieving something greater. So I think creating a culture of innovation is very important. The leadership is instrumental in shaping organizational culture, and a culture that encourages innovation is a breeding ground for a positive change. Leaders must foster an environment where employees feel empowered to share their ideas, take risks, and think creatively. This involves not only endorsing innovation, but also actively participating in it, demonstrating that a culture of innovations starts at the top. That's all I want to say.
So yeah, so in
Very
fact,
nice.
I completely agree with Anar. And taking off from where Abha said, my own background is not corporate, so I can't really lay claim to that. But since we started with, it was your firm that you founded, you kind of started at the top. So you could lay down the policies and make sure that all the women, girls, youngsters, older women, whoever it was, got whatever support they required when they worked, like proper safe transportation if they had to go to site, and make sure that they reach within certain hours, or if not, then make sure that they reach safely. So these are just some of the basic considerations that we took along. And once you set that in place, it went down the line. So it didn't really, it was just unsaid and right there. It was a policy right from the top.
How nice. Radha, do you have anything to add to this? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Only thing I keep telling everybody is the more and more we say women, 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 we need privilege, we lose out on the competitive world. Corporate world to me is a battlefield. Every corporate fights for their money. There is stress in every level. In that, if we try to talk too much about gender diversity and add stress to them, it doesn't sail well. We need to ensure within the how do we slowly change the culture of the organization. So add people and ensure they perform. Keep add people, ensure they perform. So as a one, yes, a rich companies where they have a lot of money can do everything for a women, create a crash in their office, send them through a cab. But that's not all corporates in India. All of them struggle for making money. So not make it too difficult. This maternity leave of 180 days, which has come in as an act, to me, I felt like it has reduced the opportunity for women in corporate world. Earlier, at least, we were afforded to have no women for 3 months. Now, if you tell your colleagues she'll not be there for 6 months, but I won't give you replacement because I'm paying her salary. So somewhere, yes, we need our privilege, but we manage it. We still try to contribute to the corporate. And corporate also cannot go too much in overspending. Slowly get into that. And as women leader, like Abba said, we need to start fighting for our rights. So be it, 50 lakhs or 40 lakhs. If you're taking me, you better give me the facility. We need to ask for it. We need to shy away from asking our basic requirements and we fight for it. But not too much about, I'm a gender, I'm emotionally, let us not attack. That is what I keep telling everybody. Let's not expose our weakness and then become inferior to others. We have a lot of strengths. We can work much better than anybody. We'll perform. and get a recognition, not through emotional tactics.
Very well said. I think that's a brilliant and beautiful way of closing the session. I think we've run out of time. I think, if we continue, we can spend a couple of hours just going around on everything that you wonderful and inspiring women have achieved and have encountered and changed women's lives in your process by coming across them. But just to sum it up, great inspiration all you women are, right from being in the postal services and probably getting the first post women in the postal services to landscaping architects who kind of changed the way women came for work to women in tech. I mean, Amrita, you're an inspiration, and Dr. Anar, single mother, changing the life of MSME women, inspiring. And lastly, Radha, kudos to you, really changing manufacturing and corporate India and getting more women to be part of the journey and inspiring them and getting them to perform constantly by being there for them is a big inspiration. I thank you all for being here today, and thank you, Realty Plus, for giving me the opportunity to moderate these wonderful women. I hope you guys enjoyed the session. I'm going to hand it over to Sapna and Purti now.
Yeah, I think, in fact,
Vanita.
two themes that I think came out very strongly here is one, the toilets. And I think it's a universal problem, not only at workplaces but in public spaces also. If someone is traveling by bus or train, and so that's a big. But there are certain tech is coming to help there. There is one app which has been launched. It's called Wulu, which is the nearest loo near you for women. So I think tech is going to be an enabler, and it is again founded by Rupali Kelshikar. She's a woman, so she found that this is a problem, and I think women will find their ways to address the problems that they have. And another very important theme that came out from this topic, which I realized, was sense of entitlement. Like Radha said, women should not have that sense of entitlement. If you want to work in a corporate world, you need to be to work, if we are asking for equality, we need to give equality. And like what Abha said, empowerment. If we are talking about equality in workplace, we need to empower a woman right at the lowest levels to the highest levels, maybe mentoring our managers to be the next CEOs, etc. Vinitha, we have missed out on your views. What do you have to say in this diversity dialogue? How leadership can be, that pivotal factor in bringing change, whether it is in corporate world or overall.
So, Sapna, I absolutely resonate in the fact that, as women, you have a responsibility, in a family, being a mother, and as the woman of the house, to change the mindset of the people around you. And also as a corporate leader, to kind of forthwith bring in women and constantly support them. Mount K Capital is 50% women, 50% men in total. We don't shy away from bringing in more women in the workspace. We don't shy away from giving them the support that is needed. I think the narrative is changing in a lot of spaces, and I'm happy to see, actually men leaders come forth and support women more, because they finally understand that as fathers of daughters, they would want to see their women or their daughters in leadership roles. So yes, I see that. And I say something that it's all your upbringing. I was never brought up as a girl child. Like Radha said, I didn't have any you're a girl, you're less than a man, you can't do this, you can't do that. I went to construction sites. I went to see and walk 217 acres. I've gone to banks and worked with men at equal. So it is your self-motivation, it is your inner voice, and it is the upbringing that you get from your parents. If you come from the traditional upbringing where it's told to you that any decision you take has to be in consultant with the man of the house, you will never have the freedom to kind of do that in your life or in your business. So I think as women, you need to change the narrative for your kids. Otherwise, you will constantly continue with the burden. And we forget the one thing that we have the power of giving birth and giving life. I mean, if you don't understand the power you have, you're never going to change the world. So I think that needs to kind of come in everything that women do.
Right, that's right. Like we here say, if men are part of the problem, they are also part of the solution. So, we need to take it. But thank you so much, everyone, for bringing those very insightful advice for us here, for our viewers here on. And I think we had some very valuable takeaways from this discussion. So, thank you to all our speakers, Vinitha, Ms. Urmila, Amrita, Anar, Radha for joining in, and Advocate Abha Singh for being here. I think we need to do more, but we are on the right track. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
See you. Bye.
So that was one very inspiring and motivating conversation. Let me now hand it back to Purti to take us to our next session of the day. Our speakers are already here. Purti, over to you.
So much, Sapna. So the session is moderated by Charu Thapar, and the name of the session is Women Think Tank to Deliberate on Indian Real Estate Strengths and Weaknesses. This is our panel discussion too, and the session will be moderated by Charu Thapar, who is an Executive Director, Property and Asset Management, Asia Pacific Head and Strategy, Platform and Emerging Markets from JLL. Charu is with over 27 years of experience. Charu, with over 27 years of experience, mentors key emerging markets to provide delivery solutions to clients, promote technology, increase market presence in the PropTech space, strengthen the cross-border collaborations and partnerships with the clients to provide efficiencies and quality services. Charu also shepherds JLL's D&I initiatives firm-wide and champions CSR for India. Let me introduce our speakers in the alphabetical order. First one, we have Dr. Ananta S. Raghuvanshi, who is the founder and president from Naredco Mahi. Dr. Raghuvanshi, a TEDx and Cambridge Seeding STEM speaker, is a real estate industry veteran with more than 3 decades of experience. She now leads Naredco Mahi under the aegis of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Earlier, she had held prestigious assignments at DLF, MRMGF, and DEMEC. Next in the list, we have Dr. Ananya Gandotra, who is a Senior Vice President, Design and Operations from Mogra Realty. Dr. Gandotra is a real estate and construction specialist with over 3 decades of experience. She has helped design, launch, and deliver many marquee events like Birla Niara, Taj Dubai, to name a few. She is passionate about playing a pivotal role with new real estate development arms of conglomerates. Next in the list, we have Shefali Singh, who is a vice president from Divyashri. Shefali, a key member of Divyashri's senior leadership team, brings 20 years of diverse experience in India's real estate sector. Leading the residential business unit, her strengths lie in strategic formulation, operational excellence, and financial acumen. Beyond P&L responsibilities, she oversees group finance, group fundraising, and plays a pivotal role in business growth. Next, I would like to call Sheetal Vanwari, who is the head of marketing from Office. Sheetal is a seasoned professional with an impressive career in marketing and advertising. At Office, she spearheads the company's marketing endeavors, establishing the processes, fostering the community engagement, managing PR activities, executing BTL advertising campaigns, overseeing the digital and performance marketing initiatives, managing social media platforms, and driving thought leadership initiatives. After that, I would like to call Swati Sivaraman, who is the CEO and Chief Designer from Storyboard Design. Swati, a Master of Sustainable Design from Harvard University, started her design firm in 2014. Since then, she has been steering the firm to surpass the existing benchmarks. The company, under her leadership, has delivered more than 200 projects, from homes and offices to retail stores, hotels, and schools. And the last one is we have Yasha Saraf, who's a co-founder, Aris Uniturn Real Estate Solutions Private Limited. Yasha Saraf brings nearly 20 years of real estate expertise with a career including key marketing roles at Lodha Group, Ozone, and Shriram Properties. Yasha co-founded Kaleido Realty, a startup which is empowering ambitious developers and now drives transformative change at Eris Uniturn Real Estate Solutions. Now, I request our moderator to please take over the proceedings.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted and thanks to Realty Plus for inviting this eclectic panel for a great discussion, which I think will be extremely insightful. And thank you for a great introduction. So, I think before we delve into this, this really key important topic of what we believe are the strengths and weaknesses of the real estate sector, and some would be sector specific and some would be seen from the lens of female leaders. I would really like to get, the personality and a little bit of a personalization into this conversation. And there's one question I'm very keen to ask all my panelists today is, and I think everyone on the panel has a whole lot of experience. Some people have 28, 30 years of experience. I would really like to know, given this really exciting journey you've had in real estate, what have been your personal highlights and lowlights as you've traversed through this journey to be where we are today on this Friday evening, 31st of May. Let me start with you, Dr. Ananta. I know you have many fans in the industry. So as you are, leading Neretco and the Mahi Champions, so it would be great to hear of your experiences before we actually get into the deeper subject of the real estate itself. So over to you, Dr. Ananta.
Thank you so much, Charu. Good evening, and good evening to my fellow panelists as well as to our lovely audience. It's always a pleasure to be on an all-women panel in real estate. So let's talk about the lows first. So, Charu, just like you said, there were the 90s, then the 2000s, the 2010s, and then the 2020s now. So when you talk about lows, if you go back to the 90s, that was a point where, the word builder was something to be feared of, Also, if you went into the marketplace, the demand was a lot more than the supply. So getting an allotment itself for a buyer was a big deal. Also, those were times when the plans could change, the allotment, the unit allotted could change, the specifications could change. So that was the 90s. Now, fast forward to today. Today, we are sitting in a place where we are talking ESG, we are talking CSR, we are talking inclusion, sustainability, carbon points, carbon credits, water saving. So the whole world has changed and it's turned upside down in a very good way. So those low points today, the very same low points are today the highlights. If you talk about personal, lows and highs, Charu, I think I was really lucky to be at the right place at the right time. When I started working in June 91, my first job was with DLF. And DLF was very professional even then. And it was an organization which actually wanted women in certain roles, wherever there were relationships, sales, marketing, control, admin, legal, HR. Women were there all over, architects, interior designers, even then. So I was in a very good space that way. Also from there, I only moved from strength to strength, as the chief executive of EMAR, or whether it was as the India country head for DAMAC, or the senior executive director for Experion. All four organizations spread over 32 years of my professional journey. They were all actually running it like a corporate, So it was a good space. Yes, the difficult part was the marketplace wasn't kind of really there because brokers needed training and professional brokers and IPCs were just about entering. So that hand-holding today at NAR, you have 50,000 trained professional brokers. So the whole world has changed, Charu, and for the good, for the better. And so happy to be seeing this transformation.
Thank you, Dr. Ananta. I mean, I'm very keen to hear from all the panelists. So perhaps we can jump over to, and I'm no particular order. That's how I'm seeing on the screen. Maybe Yasha, you want to go next?
Hi, Charu. Hi, everyone. It's lovely to be a part of such a panel, as Dr. Ananta said. So yeah, my journey is about 18 odd years in real estate. It used to be an era where launching a project used to be the easiest thing in the world. All the developers had absolute no fear of overcommitments. There was no fear of giving compensations. There was absolutely no fear of delaying the possessions. So I've joined real estate in 2007. There was no RERA, no regulations, and that used to be the era. 18 years have passed, and we keep meeting the developers day in and out, and it's a surreal change where I keep talking to the developers, and they are now talking about proactively about product developments, about faster construction, timely delivery, and all of that. So I think industry that way has definitely graduated to a very, very good level. Personal journey, I think I've been really lucky to have found some amazing mentors throughout the journey who kept supporting me. I kept learning from them. I've not studied much in life. The only thing that I had was just hard work and learning from people. That's exactly what I've done in the last 18 odd years. I was lucky to get that kind of support from my mentors, but I'll tell you something. I have seen a lot of bias in the industry, and this is not a usual thing that people support the women leaders as much as I have been supported. So now what I do, I've co-founded a company called Uniturn. It is a small startup. We are basically the extended teams of a lot of developers. We supply materials, we do funding for them. We also do consulting, and we execute those consulting strategies also. So basically like a one-stop solution. And I'm very happy to say that, we have women all over. Like our HR head is a woman. I am a woman amongst the 4 co-founders. So we have women at equal strength as much as men are there in the company. And I'm happy and very, very satisfied in life that I'm able to build something like this after 18 years being in real estate. Yeah.
Thanks, Yasha, for calling out the fact that, and I think this is a hard reality to face, that you got to be lucky to get a supportive environment. And I think all of us could perhaps echo the same thought. But let me jump over to Dr. Gandhotra and see what her experiences have been.
Yeah, thank you, Charu. So I'll just start with the, basically the high points. And personally, for me, the high points have been working with stalwarts, professionals, and people who actually know what they're talking about. So essentially could be the promoters of organizations. So when you go to organizations where you have a promoter who is very knowledgeable, or I would rather say goes into the detail, has an eye for detail, you know that you're in good hands, especially when you are in the early stages of learning and in your professional life. Because in our industry, real estate, specifically from the technical side, like I'm an architect and I've worked in architecture for a very long time. So working with architects, who are very knowledgeable, or working with promoters who are imbibed in understanding the technicalities and details of the product, which is a building, I think that helps in the learning process early in life. The second part that I feel is that I've been exposed to the best practices. I have, for most of my life, worked with very large organizations which had certain processes in place. So I have been able to kind of take on board the best practices in the industry, And then thereby, if you step into a setup which hasn't got those, you're able to get those processes in very quickly. And making sure that small things like, let's just say, doing a contract, doing procurement, various different aspects of developing a product or a project, you should know how to do it well. And then, of course, there could be shortcuts and things like that. But if you don't know, whether you call it by the book or whatever, you should know how to do it. So the third point for me as a strength has been diversity and inclusion, which many a times have been talked about. Never once, wherever I've worked, I've been questioned that you are a woman, and thereby you are on a disadvantage on this position. So that for me has been a great strength personally. And I was, looking at the previous speaker. For me, I'm a PhD in architecture, so had the whole thing of going to various gold medalist and stuff like this. So I've been able to put my education to good use. So I do feel whether especially for women, I think education is extremely important, because when you are in an organization and you have a good education and you have good experience, you can compete equally. And then no one can really question whether you are a man or a woman. So that has been one of the strengths that has been there or highlights for me. The low point is sometimes when you get into a new organization is a trust factor. So especially in real estate, it's a very complex kind of a setup. You work with multiple diverse kind of verticals: marketing, sales, liaison. You work with legal. You work with various different departments: design, technical, construction, execution, operations. Now, to build in a trust factor into the organization, it takes a little time because of the way the real estate and construction industry is. And the other thing is that I feel is, there is a lot of liaison involved in real estate. So I think the more minimization or optimization we can do on the liaison part of it, I think it will be better in all for the industry as such. So those are some of the low points that I feel that are there, not just in my personal journey, but as industry as such.
Yes, I think I agree with a lot of points. And as I said, an extremely Nanya, you said how many years of experience?
I have around 30 years.
Okay, all right. Okay, and with that, let's move over to Sheetal.
Hi, Charu. Hi, everyone. I'm really glad to be part of this panel and connected with all of y'all. I have a slightly more unique story. I do not have that much experience in real estate. I come from an agency background. So for me, my experience moving to the real estate sector was completely different. And, so from when you come from an agency, the culture is completely different. The hierarchy is not there, and it's a more democratic process. When I moved to the, what we call the client side, and I moved to real estate almost a decade now, what struck me was how passionate people were about real estate, and that went across departments. So, and that passion was quite contagious. I did not particularly find that there was anything, targeted towards me being different because I'm a woman. However, I did notice that, the seat at the table for a lot of women in the leadership, it was more male dominated, which as and when I have been around, I've seen it change. I completely agree with one of the points that Dr. Ananya made about confidence, because I think we've had to, and everyone here has been instrumental in making their space. And so, it's not something that is given to you. I had read this somewhere that you have to be twice as smart as a woman to get that place. And, so that really makes a lot of difference. And the other thing is that from a shared space, part of real estate, which by itself is a very nascent category. So there is, more, I would say, diversity in the kind of people that we have, or the kind of, space that we create for women or otherwise. So that's been my experience so far, and I absolutely love it as of now. And I'm hoping that together we will also be the people who will create a safe space for other women to come in, so that, panels such as these will be talking about, oh, there is absolutely nothing that, we have great women leaders there to look up to.
Yeah, very well said, Sheetal. And I'm hoping that through our conversation as we progress, some of those insights will come through. But with that, Shefali, given your really deep experience, I'm really looking forward to hearing from you.
Sure. So thank you, Charu, and thank you, everyone. And like everyone is saying, I completely resonate that it's a great honor to be on this panel with likes of all the panelists which are there. So I think Charu, I'll divide the question into two parts. Number one, it's I have approximately about 25 years of real estate experience. Large part of it is in Bangalore. And the highest of highs and the lowest of lows is very much like Bangalore infrastructure. So what 2000 Bangalore was and what it is in 2023, this is exactly what real estate cycle across the country has been. What used to take 15 minutes now won't reach the destination in 1.5 hours as well. So I think that is how real estate has also evolved from a very supplier-driven market to, at one point, to a very consumer-driven market. And today, I think as it is morphing on, it's morphed into a very balanced approach where both sides of the supply and the demand are very educated, very balanced. And both of them, and I would say that I think everyone, all the stakeholders today are very clear about what they want to deliver. And the end user is very clear what they want to have, right? Or as an end product. So today, what is good to see is the unorganized sector that we saw in 1980s, 1990s, coming into a very research-oriented, and I think one of the panelists referred to it, that the kind of research that is going inside today in real estate sector, where it's almost becoming as if there is a science behind it. Right, so gone are the days when even your, a panwala could do real estate brokerage, right? Those were one of those days. But today, there are people recognize that even if whether it's a small end user of looking at buying a residential apartment, either way, the corporate commercial real estate has always been a very matured market. There is a reason why India today is called Office of the World, or would be called Office of the World soon. So even in the very otherwise an unorganized sector, which is the residential space, you see clients ready to pay the value for the right advice, for the right product. So that is what I believe, that I think Indian real estate is going to be more matured, more organized going forward. The good thing is the government is leading the way towards it, right? No matter, all of us, I come from a developer community. Yes, we all say that RERA can be very restrictive, but when you look at it, right, all these regulations which the government framework is offering, it also makes us accountable and responsible for the product that we deliver. And as a result of it, what we are doing is we are developing a community. We are creating a community which will survive for the next 30, 40 years. And it's a very important thing, right? Because the reason I say so, see, a building which is constructed, whichever asset class, whether it is residential, commercial, retail, schools, colleges, it's going to last for minimum of 30 to 40 years, which means 3 to 4 generations are going to be using it, right? That is how human behavior would be interacting. I mean, these spaces would define how humans interact with each other, whether it is a 3 BHK apartment or it's of 50,000 square feet of floor plate. So the responsibility of figuring out how societal connections happen, how community connects with each other is something that I believe comes along as being member of this real estate industry. And I think more and more developers and more real estate stakeholders are recognizing it and moving forward on those lines. On the lowest of lows, I think I think as an industry, I see us as growing. So there's only an upswing which is happening, and we are also learning. I wouldn't say the industry per se has lowest of lows. Of course, like every other industry, there is demand for infrastructure, and like Dr. Ananya said, that it's licensing delays, etc. Those are things, but that I think is part of every industry. It's not very specific to real estate industry, and that's also a nature of that's how you grow. Now that was on the industry. Personally speaking, I think I resonate with everybody. I have been associated with real estate industry now for about, like I said, 25 years. I don't see or remember or recall a day where I have made to feel my gender, right? And I think that's also, there are two things. It's also what we represent, what we get on the table. If we cry out, and I'm sorry, maybe this is too radical, but I think if because maybe that's the reason also, because I haven't seen myself as a gender first and then Shefali later, right? So if we start carrying our own identity first and then become gender agnostic, I think the ecosystem around us will treat us similarly. The lowest is, and I would agree with probably what Sheetal said, that it's more self-inflicted. I think women sometime to have a little more of those self-inflicted guilt that, am I good enough? Am I working as hard? So the question is not outside. I think it's more internal that we need to talk about. The additional pressure that we take on ourselves, that I have to work much harder. If we put a foot down and operate in a way that this is it, I'm working equally, I think at some point the ecosystem will morph. I also agree with what Sheetal said, that I think in the last 10 years, across the industry, I have seen that gender gap going away, right? And more people are hiring team members because of their talent and their capability, and are not looking at these things, are not looking at the gender first or any other restrictions. So that's what I believe, that probably, and I hope that maybe in the next 2-3 years, we don't have this gender diversity as a topic, or as a burning topic to go through it, right? So those are my points, and I would also agree that I think, like Yasha said, like Sheetal said, I have also been at the right place at the right time. I have been surrounded by managers and mentors who have also not made me feel as if I'm a woman, even though I've been associated with every aspect of real estate now, full cycle.
Yeah, I think very well said in terms of where each person's journey has been defined at, right? Where you land at really does define how smooth your journey goes. And Swati, let's hear it from you. And I think there's some interesting insights emerging already as I'm hearing all of you. But Swati, over to you.
Hi. It's amazing to be amongst all you wonderful women icons. I think that in itself is a high point for all of us here. And coming to reflecting on my journey as a real estate professional, I think I come from an ancillary supporting wing. So we are an interior design and execution company. And one of my biggest highs has been that, after studying abroad, I've returned back to India, and I gave birth to my second child. That's my company, or that I call. And being a first-time entrepreneur, every day was a new challenge. Being a male-dominated industry, I've not felt the discrimination so much, but you're constantly, learning and evolving in this process. And it was really rewarding to empower others through your voice and design. So being instrumental in influencing people's life, that was something, I got a high on. And every day that brought new challenges or opportunity for learning and growth. And I think I was really lucky because I found the right partner to start the business. And I also had great mentors and industry peers who was constantly encouraging, in terms of how you need to go forward. And obviously, this also meant, a lot of sacrifice in terms of your personal family time. And, as women, we do get emotional many a times on this front, and also leads to some amount of self-doubt many times, I would say. So what I realized that, the only way that we are going to uh, succeed is to form a strong team, a team which is diverse and a team which does not have any kind of discrimination in it. So when we form that, I think that would be the biggest way that we could move forward. And obviously with this, my constant learning and unlearning, I think uh, I've seen like over 200 projects now that we've completed, we've done across residential, commercial, where it's a, execution is something that people refrain from. So that's been my personal high that I have been able to take my company forward with this. Coming to the lows, I think because it is such an intensive industry, for us, supply chain management or, dealing with uh, people's personal choices, it's always been a very big challenge in terms of the timelines or the vendors. And also since we are catering across geographies, that also is a very big challenge that we need to, cater to. So I think the right way forward for all of us would be like to have the right process and, embrace technology and, go out there and, position ourselves as a change maker in the real estate industry. So that's what I've looked at, and I think I've come a long way in the journey of this. And so that's what I would say has been I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think thanks to all you people also there who've been a great mentor or a good example to us, that I have been able to, move from a corporate world into a entrepreneurship journey. And I think I've seen a great journey so far.
Awesome, great. Thanks, Swati. And I was just thinking collectively, perhaps all of us have almost 150 years of real estate experience on this screen already today, right? And I was just thinking I'd be nowhere but here on this Friday evening. And it's a very interesting, intersection point, because we're not only talking of strengths and weaknesses of the real estate industry, but we're also bringing out women leadership and the strengths and weaknesses we've had to deal with in either our personal space or our professional space to be where we are, right? I think as women leaders, some of the strengths, some of the unique things that we've seen in our journey is that we've seen increasing representation, right? We've seen great networks developing for women to, actually have a career in real estate. I think some of the things that we hope that in our careers we will see is reduced gender bias. I think it's removing in some segments already. And also, definitely, I feel that in the industry, women are underrepresented. And it would be great to see more women leader being represented in the real estate industry. But let's focus on the industry itself. And I think Yasha, you have a timeout call and you are in a bit of a hurry. So I would love to ping a question to you. So when it comes to technologically advanced landscape of real estate, right, and it's more and more of that in the globe and in the world today, in building, in construction sectors, what are the particular challenges we face that are impeding our growth?
Charu, see, from my very humble experience of 18 years, I see everybody is trying to innovate on two aspects. Aspect number one is customer facing. How do we create better products for customer cycle? How do we make customers buy online? How do we start prospecting the customers online? So one part of the community is only building products to enhance this entire experience from the customer mindset. The second set of people in the industry are trying to enhance a lot of products which can really do a lot of things about in terms of making the construction better, making the construction faster, the operational thing for the developer, right? So let me cover the first part. And I do this day in and out because I'm meeting the customers. I'm a marketer by profession. I meet the customer day in and out for my bread and butter in life. So what I see in the last 18 odd years from the customer perspective is, especially an Indian customer, buying a home is the most important thing for them in life and the most emotional decision. So sometimes, there is a joke, we compare this with the matrimony industry. Ki matrimony and home buying are the two life and death decisions for the customers. So the emotional quotient is so high. Ki are you going to buy a product through technology or online? I don't see that happening. What technology can really do for consumer facing or the consumer journey is, we can do a better prospecting. But ultimately, is he going to buy or is she going to buy online without even visiting the location? Can the technology reach that level in our industry? I really doubt that. I really doubt that, because ultimately what really can happen, and what has been happening in so many years that we have seen, a lot of technology advancements are happening on the prospecting side, but not on the closing side. On the closing side, there's still customer is going to come, he's going to feel the product, he's going to see the location, he's going to see that whether there is a nala near my house and all of that. Only then, so the physical touch is really important as far as the consumer journey goes. So there is only prospecting part that the technology can really take care. In terms of construction and operational side, I'm not involved that much, but what I keep hearing from the industry are a couple of things. I'll tell you about them. First is what everybody keeps telling, and when I say everybody, I mean a lot of developers, because that's what we keep doing. We keep meeting a lot of developers. So what they keep saying is that, see, let's say a big brand, for example, like a Prestige or a Shobha, who are a multi-city player, they can bring in a lot of technology, which is, wherein a lot of cost is involved. And they can afford that because they have, let's say, a 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 crore of inventory to be sold in one particular year. But your 80% of the industry is not these A category developers. Your 80% of the industry is run B, C, D category developers who will launch one project in a year. Let's say a 200 crore inventory. That's about it. And they are going to deliver it after 2 years. Can they afford that much of technology in terms of better construction, faster construction? They sometimes doubt that. So what happens is they are still doing the old ways of doing the construction, which is not, so much technologically driven. That is one thing that I keep hearing. Second thing is, it is such a localized game. Like what happens in Karnataka may not happen in Maharashtra. So it's such a local game, such a decentralized game. So a common technology getting launched for, as an industry becomes very difficult. Third thing, what I keep hearing again from the peer circle is, there is a huge gap between what the technology is getting launched and the skilled labor. So even though, there are products which can do, let's say, a better construction, but do you have the enough labor, who can actually adapt that kind of a technology? So these kind of things are definitely there. But having said that, of course, if everything comes together, the government, the leaders, the technology providers, if everybody comes together, of course, I feel there's a lot of scope for improvement in our industry, is what I feel. Yeah.
Very interesting, Yasha, about, and I'm going to pick the thread on fragmentation of the industry on what you said, and move to Dr. Ananta. So, we recognize, Dr. Ananta, that the market is fragmented, right, with numerous small developers, leading to inconsistencies in quality, delays, trust issues amongst buyers. How do you think we can address it, right? Because as, coming on from what even Yasha's was saying, that inability to perhaps even deploy easily available technology, and just so many other things which could be best practices, right? Really keen to hear, given your deep experience in this segment.
Thank you. So, Charu, see, a monopolistic environment is never good in any micro market. So new players are definitely required in every market. And new is always welcome. Likewise, if you are new, obviously you'll start small. You cannot be big. Everybody was small at some point of time, and that's how they grew and became big. Having said that, if you were to just look at two, while I've worked in 20 different markets all over India, but if we were just to look at two little micro markets, let's pick up Noida, for example, and let's pick up Dwarka Expressway. Both these markets have flourished and done so well only because the new players came and took a risk. So if you were to look at Noida, look at how good Max is, or Gorsons, or M3M, or Gulshan, or Experion. They've all kind of transformed that whole place and made it ready for the next level. Similarly, Dwarka Expressway, while you may have the Shobhas and the Godrej and all of them there, but at the same time, even there, you had the conscient people come in, you had Puri walk in, you had Experion there, who worked really hard. Almost for a decade, things were stuck, but they were resilient enough to stand there. So I think new builders, small builders, developers are really the need of the hour everywhere, as long as they do it well. Now, to do it well, where some of them do miss out on certain things is that if you're lacking in experience, and if you plug it with experienced people who have been there, done that, or, like she just mentioned about the skilling and the importance of skilling, and Dr. Ananya mentioned about the importance of actually being qualified for that job. This is not, you cannot say that, there's no rocket science. It's all science. Brick and mortar is all science. Whether it's architecture, whether it is civil engineering, or whether it is the latest materials that you use, so we make it sound very simple, but it is not simple business. So to do it well, talent acquisition, all of it has to fit in well. Last week, Charu, I had the opportunity to meet Padma Shri Ajay Chaudhary ji, the founder of HCL, and he's supporting 70 plus startups. So what he said is very simple. He said A is greater than R. So, to be a successful entrepreneur, businessman, corporate leader, your aspirations are always greater than your resources. And
I love that.
I loved it. And he's written a book, Just Aspire. That's his biography. Okay. And he actually, when he started writing, he was writing it, for his grandson. And then he realized it would help people like us also. And, so life is a journey. Similarly, real estate, there's only that much land. And again, this weekend, I was driving down from Noida to Nimrana, and there wasn't a single square yard vacant. We are going vertical, we are doing everything. So it's just about owning it and being responsible enough and then doing it right, But the good news is that you have so many NRIs, you have all these funds coming in. I mean, Noida, see what the Galaxy Group is doing. They're so committed. They're willing to walk that difficult path. And it is all these forums. I think that's where you remember you and I last year, I think we did a study on why women are so apprehensive about joining our industry. So those who joined are like us. They'll fight their way through. They are so passionate. They are so strong. They'll, break all barriers. They'll make their pass and they'll move up. But then there are others who are very talented, but they may need that type of support and inclusion. And it's for all of us to do that. That's how Naredko Mahi got created, right? We're meeting again on the 14th for that. Yeah. So same as the thing with builders also. The learning from the past really helps in carving out the future. So it's good the new players come, but also that is where, Realty Plus, Sapna, Tripti, they play such an important role, because you can learn from other people's experiences and not make those same very mistakes. But definitely RERA, demonetization, all of this has helped hell of a lot, and it's not the same industry anymore.
Yeah, true, Dr. Ananta. And Shefali, given your experience with Divishri, right? It's a big corporate house. It operates in that manner, and you have the same lens. I mean, you have a lens and a view to the same question, and I'm very keen to hear what your view is. And if you want, I'll repeat the same question which I asked Dr. Ananta. We recognize that the market is fragmented with numerous small developers, leading to inconsistencies in quality, delays, and trust issues amongst buyers. So how do you think it can be addressed?
Sure. Yeah. So I think I completely resonate with what Dr. Ananta was also saying, that small developers or small entrepreneurs, as I would call it often, they actually bring more value than inconsistencies or in terms of qualities and delays. So there are pros and cons of it. See, today in the market that we are in, luxury is not only about brands, luxury is about bespoke designs, right? So what these small developers, individual, one-time developers bring to the table, in fact, they up that bespoke quality quotient so high that they become the disruptors of what is the next product that has to be offered. Right. Now, that is one part of it. Now the other second part of it, that there are also these small-time developers who probably do a shoddy job, right? And hence the client at the end of the day feels cheated and paints the entire developer community with the same brush, that all developers are bad. However, because of such incidents, that has also led to the result of regulatory frameworks like RERA, like the entire, today NCDRC, which is the consumer court, is so strong, right? And customers are not hesitant in going there and questioning whether whichever developer it is, big, small, or medium size. So I think all in all, if you were to look at it, small developers, fragmented developments, actually, to me, if done in the right way, with the right intention, targeted at a very, very niche market, they actually become market disruptors, setting up the bar very high, right? They also, and I think this is a very important aspect, because, and Charu, you'll resonate with it, is because I think one is the construction life cycle, but there is a whole life cycle of a building after the construction is over, after the occupier has moved in. And these small developers, very niche startup developers, they actually are even setting up the bar very high, even post-construction, post-handover, during the operation life cycle. And this is where today I look up to them, because I'm saying that what is the next disruption coming along, which we can imbibe, the agility that they bring to the table and to the industry, the flexibility in their operation. Right. And as vis-a-vis a big organization, and all of us work in big enough organizations to know that sometimes to make a smallest of the change, it seems like you're moving a whole mountain. Right. So there's those learnings, and the ones which are the bad apples from this so-called small industry, they are the people who give the thought process to the government and regulatory authority how to tighten the system, how to make everybody more accountable, big or small.
True. I think very well said, Shefali. And I think that brings to mind a question on sustainable practices and compared to global standards. And Swati, I'm going to jump to you for this one, right? So compared to our global standards, the adaptation of advanced construction technologies, sustainable practices is slower, right? Because one, of course, is everything impacts the cost for the end user, and it does affect the efficiency and the long-term viability of the project, etc. So what innovative strategies and approaches can be, really adapted, right, which are practical to integrate technology towards, a sustainable development?
Thanks, Charu, for directing this question towards me, because sustainability is very close to my heart. It's actually quite interesting to note the shift in focus towards sustainability in the construction industry itself. Although it's pretty ironic, because since in India, I feel that we've always had a rich history of sustainable practices ingrained in our traditional architecture throughout with our building techniques. In fact, I would say our ancestors are, they were adept at adaptive space planning methods like courtyards, jalis, using eco-friendly materials like your lime plasters, etc. we've actually always been environmentally friendly structures. We've used local materials, efficient design principles. But somewhere I feel with globalization, we've drifted away from our roots and we've started being influenced by global technology and construction. And we've really forgotten the importance of what vernacular architecture could do towards sustainability and strategies. So I believe that, for us to realign our sustainable roots and integrate modern technology towards sustainability is very, very important. I think we need to adopt something called as a AAA approach. That is, you align, you adopt, and you accept. So this would probably involve, like, leveraging our traditional knowledge. We align it with global best practices, and we accept the importance of sustainability in today's world. Like example, like I would say, we got to think globally, but we definitely need to act locally, right? Like it will be very crucial for us to endeavor this, especially in our real estate segment, because we are so, environmentally, I would say we are there, affecting the environmental impact in a very big way, right? All of us. So I think some key strategies that we could consider would be like, one is to measure what we manage. So we got to adopt sustainability platforms. Like you have your lead Graha, but we need to find the suitable platforms, and we need to evaluate, what we want to do in terms of sustainability for a specific typology of a building. And other strategy which I learned in my master's and I take it through my entire business would be the integrated project management approach, which I believe is a very crucial thing, because we got to involve all the stakeholders from the very beginning so that we streamline decisions, we make processes, and we make it very transparent, because transparency is one of the key towards sustainable practices, I would say. And we need to basically bring about changes, minimize the changes that comes during these project execution phases, because that's what creates a lot of impact in terms of transportation or material wastage or change management that we call. And this brings us to also our supply chain management, because when you look at the entire life cycle of a project, from the conceptualization to the entire execution, right? uh, Sourcing the materials, or the way we source it, or the kind of vendors we deal with, right? All of this somewhere, kind of impacts the carbon footprint that we are dwelling with. So it's very important for us to, adapt to these things and accept that this is the new norm, and we have to go about it in a very responsible manner. So every small step we take towards sustainability would obviously count towards a larger goal that we are all, working and focusing towards. But it has to come from the heart. That is the most important, I feel. And we should not do it just for the book thing. We need to get a LEED certification. I've been in projects where, we want a LEED certification. So we start doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we need to go beyond that and really embrace it, with all our emotions. And I think this the best way would be leading by example. So what I have, done all through my career, or when I started the companies, I consciously realized that integrating sustainability into every practice, see, we should not just look at it in terms of eco-friendly materials. We got to look at it from a holistic perspective, a 360-degree approach that I call. And that's the only way we can move towards a greener future. And I think, we got to also be the example for our future generation. We need to make them understand the value of this and how this could really impact the real estate sector, be it the construction technologies, be it the way we process, and be it the entire, ecosystem in from our vendors right up to the clients. I think it's very important for us to educate them and make them believe that this is the way forward. And that's what I believe in.
Yeah. I think we're in a way a very fortunate place, because as Indians, we grow up with a lot of sustainability at the back of our minds, right? Without even realizing, in terms of reusing a lot of stuff, and that's how we grow up, right? That's how our culture is built. But I think there are some themes that are coming through in terms of how fragmentation is not necessarily a bad thing, because it brings uniqueness into any kind of domain. We're talking of sustainability. We're talking of the fact that real estate is no joke. It is really a science, right? So, given some of those diverse thoughts that come through, I want to come to you, Dr. Gandotra. You were, a technical, in a sense, master of your space. And I would really like to hear your views on what you think are the major strengths of the Indian real estate sector that contribute to its growth and development.
Sorry, Charu, is this question to me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I missed in the middle. Okay, so I do feel that the Indian real estate, we have lots of things happening for us. One is that, there is certain level of economic, geopolitical stability. I know elections have just, happening, but I think that contributes a lot, to real estate, how the political, economic, and, the geographical setup is. And as Ananta was mentioning about, say, infrastructure, for example. Infrastructure, if there is a road, the real estate booms in that zone. So that essentially comes from not just the leadership in real estate, but it becomes the whole, scenario of the country. So these are direct and indirect influences on real estate, how that is going to be today, how it's going to be in future. And not just the A towns, the B and the C towns also get those prospects that they can aspire to be another Gurgaon or a Noida, or, and then the other things like airports, for example. And some of us who've seen the airports in America versus what we have in India, they are definitely many notches higher. So essentially, the state infrastructure, the public and the private sector, I think that kind of together bring the real estate to its next level. And I do feel that both are doing great in their own individual sectors. For example, for a very long time, the public sector was not being looked at, or was not considered to be doing so well as the private. But now just even look at the equity and the share markets. People are looking at public sector very, very, carefully. And that essentially is also one strong point for Indian real estate per se, from a private, player's perspective. The other thing is the kind of talent that we have, the kind of, the kind of people that we are bringing into organizations and working and grooming and the culture. I think that is also a positive thing, that versus other industries which were much more, I would say, much more developed or advanced in terms of the way they would run their own industries. I think real estate is also catching up and trying to be considered to be one of those, powerful asset building or the pillars of the country. And the middle class, I think the middle class, the way it has grown in India, the younger generations that are coming in, most of us runs our home, and we see how the lower segment is wanting and giving an impetus on education. I think again and again, I kind of strongly propagate education, not just in the actual certificate, but the fact what you're bringing inside your house, the mothers, how they are telling their daughters or their sons or children how they should become an individual and how they should go out and work in the industry. So real estate essentially is a home, first of all, and then it goes out and becomes a larger industry as such. So I think that is one of the things that I feel is extremely powerful. And the various players that are coming, the organized sector which are moving, you name all the big players in the country, they're all in the real estate. And they are there for the reason is that because they want to bring a shift in the way real estate was being perceived. And as someone was mentioning about bespoke designs, the best of the industry professionals globally, they have presence in India, be it the consultants. And you would be really astonished with the fact, which I read, I can't say it is, meaning I own it, but the largest collection, or I would say, of tar cranes in the world is in city Mumbai. So what does it talk about? It talks about the amount of development that is taking place in India. And so therefore, I am quite bullish about real estate, and so should a lot of us.
others. Thank you so much, Dr. Malhotra. I want to quickly get you in, Sheetal, because you see a very, you actually see closely the young India work, right, in the offices that you manage pass through you, right? What is your view through your lens? How do you see the strengths and weaknesses of this, younger generation passing through the workforce?
All right, Charu, in the interest of time, I'm going to keep my answer quite short. In terms of, besides the young workforce, I don't know if you all are aware, but my company got listed yesterday. And we're the first co-working
Congratulations.
space in, thank you, first co-working space in India to get listed. So we're public now. And that is actually an indication on where the industry is also headed. I've been with them almost since the beginning. So in the last less than a decade, the industry has grown so much. And there are a lot of new asset classes which are growing, which includes co-working. And that is also an indication of how open the industry has become to have new spaces come in. So some of the strengths that, Dr. Ananya mentioned, I would say this would be one of them, is that we are more accepting and we are ready to adopt newer methods, newer spaces coming in. In terms of some of the weaknesses, Sharwan, I'll come to your question about the workforce also, is that we tend to think of real estate, and especially ones who've been there for quite some time, in a very almost unidimensional way of residential real estate. That's our first thought. But there is a very large portion of commercial real estate. There's a large portion of warehousing, retail, and co-working now, which forms this huge part and a very growing aspect of real estate. With the young workforce, and I think again I'm going to quote Dr. Ananya when she's talking about tier 2 cities. So a lot of movement in reverse migration started during COVID. And unfortunately, the demand and supply is not matching because the supply of spaces in tier 2 cities is not as high as the demand for those spaces have come up. We were mentioning a fragmentation a little while ago, and maybe the problem that we are talking about is not about small players. The problem is practices followed by any player. Maybe the larger players are a little more accountable because we are public, we are noticed, the noise is more, but best practices could come in from anywhere. And finally, to answer your question on the talent, it's one of my personal pet peeves is that till date, from a marketing perspective, real estate is not really considered the most creative field. So it's not people's first choice generally, and which is really sad because, see, where interior design or architecture is concerned, yes, because there is a very high profile aspect of real estate. But marketing is not considered that. So I really think that hopefully that is going to change because of the kind of work that is happening in the industry now is much larger. The scope is much larger, and we'll hopefully be able to kind of get and groom that talent.
Hey, thanks, Sheetal. And I think Sapna has emerged on the screen to tell us our time is up. I mean, they were so give me 30 seconds to wrap up, Sapna. I mean, there was a few questions I really did want to ask this panel in terms of how do we fix our leaky, faucet in terms of, gender diverse talent, etc. Given Sapna has emerged, I'll quickly wrap up in terms of what I see as strengths and weaknesses of real estate, really. I think we're very fortunate to be in the country we are in right now. It's a fantastic economy. We have our colleagues coming from all over the world who go inspired from here and completely rejuvenated. So I think the best place to be in. We have a great demographic advantage, right, in terms of our young population. Government is taking great initiatives. There's a lot of foreign investment coming in, and our infrastructure development is really great. You go to any part of the country today, you'd be amazed to see the quality of the road and the rail infrastructure that's come up. I think our weaknesses I think my top one would be to see definitely more female leadership in everything that we do. And we have to do everything as a network to ensure that this faucet is not leaking. That the talent that comes in just does not evaporate from here. The think is, the usual ones, which we've spoken about, the regulatory challenges, the high costs, some parts of fragmentation, though I think Shefali very rightly said, it's not necessarily, and Dr. Ananta, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Economic volatility and slow adoption of technology, right? So that's a quick wrap, Sapna. I wish we had 2 hours, but I do hope at some point we do get to meet everyone face to face to bring the human element into the discussion. But thanks for bringing us together, Sapna. This has been a worthwhile Friday evening. Thank you, everyone.
At least, yeah. It was great. At least we were able to get to meet each other, even if it is just on screen, but we get to know each other. That's more important, And so before quickly we finish this session, one question that I want to ask everyone is, one word. In one word, you have to tell me what is that woman leader brings to the table in an organization. One word, if you can share. Starting with you, Charu, what does a woman leader brings to the table?
Empathy.
Fantastic. Shefali, what's your one word?
Since my first word has been taken by Charu, I'll go with hustle.
Hustle. Okay, yeah, we are great hustlers. I agree. Swati, what would you like to add? You're on mute. You're on mute, Swati.
Multitasking.
Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, we all agree to that. Sheetal.
I'm amazed that, 3 people thought of empathy as the first word. I would say authenticity.
Authenticity, yeah. We always think of new things in our minds, right? Dr. Ananya, what do you think that one word comes to your mind?
Actually, I would have think too, but my first choice is equality.
Okay.
And my second my second is balance.
Balance, yeah, balance and equality. That's fantastic. Women leaders do bring that to the table. Dr. Ananta, what would you like to add?
Focus.
Focus, yeah. So while we do multitask,
breaks, just focus, target.
Yeah, we do multitask, we do balance, but we are also very focused. That's very true. So I think all the great words for women leaders, we are also happy to hear that. So fantastic session. I think we got to know a lot about what are the the strengths of real estate. Yes, real estate is on a great growth path, growth trajectory. Challenges will remain, they will keep coming up, emerging with as we progress, but we are in the right direction, as all our speakers here have said that. So thank you so much for this fantastic panel. As Charu said, we needed at least 2 hours for this discussion, but maybe next time we'll take it forward from here. Thank you so much, everyone. Shefali for joining, Sheetal being here part of this session.
A big round of applause for you, Sapna. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us over. And
Thank you,
Charu,
Yasha.
for moderating the
We
session.
forgot your one word, Yasha. We have to have your word.
Yeah, I would say after all the words taken, I would say more integrity, probably in
yes, okay, yes, I think integrity is something else.
And also thank you, Charu, for stitching all of these things together. It was a great.
It was a great session, Charu.
Right.
Yeah, thanks.
So fantastic moderation, fantastic panel, and fantastic valuable insights that we got from our speakers. Thank you so much. So let's move on to our next conversation now. After this very wonderful talk with our speakers, and Purti, I hand it over to you now again.
Thank you, Sapna. So this is our final and the last panel discussion of this conclave, which is on emerging stars generating upside from new asset classes. So this conversation will be chaired by Fancy George, who is the CEO, Thomas Associates Workplace Design. So with over 3 decades of experience with large-scale multinational corporate office campuses to sustainable projects, Fancy George has always had a deep appreciation for workplaces from a people perspective. Her basic philosophy of an immersive approach starts with collaboration first, communication next, and finally, co-creating a bespoke solution. Let me introduce our distinguished speakers. For this panel, I would like to welcome Ms. Hina Kamra, who is the Managing Director from Neo Wealth Management, Hina, with over 27 years of rich experience in the banking and financial services sector across multiple assets, her varied experience spans across multiple products and involves treasury, money markets, foreign exchange derivatives, real estate financing, etc. So she has been in the real estate financing for over 12 years now. Next in the list, we have Niharika Verma, who is a Senior Vice President, Operations, Pune ROM and Goa from Knight Frank, India. Niharika has been in a leadership role for last 23 years. In her career of more than 3 decades, she has accomplished many milestones in corporate, hospitality, healthcare, manufacturing, and retail industry. In the field of general affairs, facility management, client experience, vendor management, in addition to food experience as well. So third in the list, we have Shivani Karia Jhaveri, who is a co-founder and CMO from Blocks. Shivani co-founded Blocks in 2019 with a decade of experience in marketing and building D2C brands across industries like fintech, luxury, real estate. She's passionate about building the first direct-to-consumer home buying brand in India that is fully tech-enabled and is supported by a multi-actor product ecosystem. Next in the list, we have Ms. Shruti Agrawal, who is the Assistant Vice President from Tata Realty and Infrastructure Limited. Shruti is one of the few marketeers in the niche of commercial real estate segment. She has been leveraging digital marketing to expand the reach and better storytelling for two sets of audience, which is B2B and B2C. Her expertise lies in developing short and long-term strategic roadmaps for the brand, supporting corporate financial strategies. And the last one, we have Tithi Tiwari, who is a co-founder and the managing director from Trezi. After spending nearly 2 decades in the building industry as business and creative design head, Tithi observed several gaps in the traditional way of approaching a design project. In 2015, she co-founded Trezi, an immersive platform that transforms digital collaborations for architects, designers, building product manufacturers, and other stakeholders in the AEC industry. So now I request the moderator to kindly take over the proceedings.
Thank you so much, Purti. I'm hoping everyone is on because I don't see their cameras on. Are they there? Okay. So thank you so much for joining me today. This is going to be, I think, quite an exciting session because we've got like women from different aspects of the industry, the real estate industry. So it's not just about design, architecture, real estate. It's also about prop tech. It's about finance in real estate. So just to set the context today, and I mean, just to dive a little bit more deeper into what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to talk about the emerging stars generating upside from new asset classes. We are going to be discussing new and emerging segments, formats, models of operations in real estate, building and construction. But I think more importantly, we're also going to be exploring the role of women leaders in a technologically advanced landscape of the real estate building and construction sector. So I want to try and keep this a little bit more conversational, a little bit more, in that sense, rather than getting too technical, because at the end of the day, I think it's got to be understandable for a lot of the masses, really. So really speaking, I'm really excited to hear all of these women's insights. I've had like a one-on-one conversation with a lot of them. It's been quite very, very interesting. So I'm excited for you to hear from them as well. So I think at this point of time, I want to start with Hina. If you can switch on your camera, Hina. Basically, your career trajectory is very impressive. You've succeeded across diverse asset classes like treasury, money markets, foreign exchange, real estate financing, wealth management. You navigated some mid-career pivots. So can you share some insights or some advice for this audience here? If you haven't switched on your camera, you should.
I have. Can you hear me? I can see.
I can. Fantastic. Now I can see you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fairly exciting. Actually, I started working, shortly after the economic liberalization in 1992, right? I started working in 95. So the economy was in an upswing. And over the last 30 years, you've seen the MSU scandal, then you've seen the internet bubble, the Enron crisis, the global financial crisis, the NBLC crisis, COVID, you just name it.
Oh,
So
you bet.
what happens is that you realize that macros and the overall environment is very, very important. But there's certain things that really stand out, that as you navigating through all these different macro environment challenges, if you're true to your own core value systems, your own principles, your beliefs, your conviction, and if you believe, and I do believe, uh, there are no shortcuts, so there are no quick fixes, right? Take care of governance issues, ethics, integrity, and which is something that women are really good at it, kind of maps well, resonates well with our DNA. You'll do well. It doesn't matter what the macro environment, what challenge it is throwing at you. Uh, Additionally, of course, I would say please develop your own professional networks. I found them very useful. When you enter into a new asset class, the world is different. Like real estate financing was so different from treasury. Wealth management was so different. Bond markets were so different. If you have professional networks, regardless of the challenge, it becomes a great place to brainstorm, to get mentored, to mentor in turn, and things happen. The universe supports you.
Right, to dive a little deeper into that, right? Do we totally understand what women, do we understand what networking is about? Because I totally get you when you just said that. I mean, I think things change for you when you actually start networking because it's all about relationship building and the trust that you're like kind of, the trust levels and everything that gets raised for you out there just by like talking to other people and, learning, sharing. I don't think I don't know if I'm generalizing, but do we totally get it? Do we get what networking, how networking helps us,
I totally agree. See, one is that uh, what is networking? You saying personal friends. I'm saying why not have professional friends?
It is, but yeah, both.
Yeah, professional friends who work in different organizations, work in diverse. They come from very diverse backgrounds. If you have conversations with them, you will find and be able to forge bonds where you're not feeling threatened, you're not feeling vulnerable, who will be able to help you guide through some tough times.
Correct. Yeah.
And they might actually give you new ideas, because if you interact with all people who belong to the same background, you will never have new ideas. It will always be groupthink. It'll always be a herd mentality. So I'm not just talking about survival. I'm also talking about growth. So you could meet these people in meetings. You could meet these people in a lift. You could meet these people while you're having dinner. You could meet these people in a conference. You could meet them in an office meeting. They could be anywhere. Whoever you bond with in any kind of interaction, please make an effort to develop that as a relationship. And
Great.
you'll do very well in stakeholder management.
Absolutely. So, okay, now I just want to dive a little bit more into you itself. Now, you've traversed many business cycles in the last 3 decades, right? So, can you share some sound bites on the traditional and emerging asset classes and how we should approach these to generate upside?
Okay, so if you look at India, last 30 years since the economy, 35 years since the economy liberalized, has been very, very fascinating. So if you look at 1990s, and since most of us are from real estate, let's look at real estate, how it has mapped out in the last 30 years. Earlier, you just had hard assets, right? People were buying just residential real estate. There was hardly any commercial real estate in the 1990s. Then slowly, with the IT boom happening and the economy picking up in the late 1990s, early 2000s, you had commercial real estate also, which became an asset class. So here we were talking about hard assets becoming an asset class. Initially, the investors in all these hard assets and even the financiers, it was the private market. You had the private money lenders who were there, who were financing the requirements. As the economy grew, the assets became, these hard assets became more standardized, and financial instruments could be structured on top of these hard assets, right? So you had lending that started happening. Initially, let's say HDFC started doing it, then ICICI Housing Finance, and so many other institutions started giving home loans. Similarly, when FDI opened up in 2005, you had a lot of private equity guys which came into the market and started funding real estate projects.
Right.
So the sector evolved as more financial instruments happened. Similarly, all other sectors at that time also have been evolving similarly. So if you look at the traditional asset classes, let me just get back to it. What do you have? You have equity, which could be listed or unlisted equity. Just like you have real estate players, you have listed players and unlisted players. So similarly, other sectors are also very similar. Then you have debt. What is debt? Earlier, it was just Government of India which raised money, which is the sovereign debt. And then you had a few private sector borrowers in the 1990s, rather public sector PSUs who borrowed in the market. Now you have a lot of private sector players who borrow money in different forms. So you could have it in the form of bonds, or you have a new asset class, which most of you would have heard of, which is now called private credit. So earlier it was lending, which was being done by banks and institutions. But due to certain regulations, they've had to do more traditional lending. So a new asset class called private credit has emerged, where sophisticated investors in larger ticket sizes can put in money. And new platforms like AIFs have come into play. Similarly, you have a lot of exotic asset classes within finance, which I'm sure all of you have heard about, which is like, you'll have Bitcoins, that is cryptocurrencies, you'll have art, you'll have wine, whiskey. So when people are flirting with these or virtual real estate, but then that's still yet to emerge as a proper asset class. So I think
Right.
we're still flirting with it, but with all this technology and the digitization and the flow of information, I think the getting comfortable with it will take a few years, but it will be faster than what it used to be earlier, a period of 2 decades to get
Right.
understand an instrument.
So
or
we're
an
not that sure as yet, because even when you say things like art is an asset class, and that excites me as a designer, because I know that it's a big deal outside, but here we're still trying to understand what that actually means, right?
Yeah, just to give you a perspective, and I hope I don't overshoot, so I'll just be very quick. Mutual funds in India, you would have all read right now, in SIPs, there's 20,000 crores, 25,000, which is going per month, right? When mutual funds were introduced in 1994, till 2005, people were not putting money only in mutual funds. They thought it is exotic. So it took 10 years for acceptance and another 15 years for it to flow to the masses. But once it started, it's 20,000 crores a month, 25,000 crores a month. That is because the speed of dissemination of information is very fast because of technology, which is something that you would also mention, which is again
Yeah.
happening across asset classes.
Yes. So talking about technology now, Hina, because this is beautiful, because from you, I'm just going to jump straight to Shivani, because she co-founded a prop tech company called Blocks, and I was having a chat with her, and for me, like, what was really interesting is somebody in fashion, taking care of like Anita Dongre and their company jumping into something like this. Shivani, if you're there, I just want to like kind of jump a little bit more from you and ask you a little question on your journey, really transforming real estate sales and marketing. Are you there?
Hi, Fancy. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Excited to be on yet another panel with all you women. A lot of you are very inspiring to me in my journey as well. So, Fancy, to cut to the chase of like my journey, and I must mention, I believe I gave you a good laugh yesterday when I said that I came from retail, luxury, having handled from fashion shows to flagship store launches to launching a fintech product online and nurturing it for 5 years to suddenly coming to real estate. It was a rather accidental journey for me to come here. But I found that personally for me, challenges have always been very exciting. And I think that there are some skills like marketing, going to market with a certain product that applies to all industries really. So when we started Blocks, the idea was to take this rather physical and tedious journey, which is home buying, a long drawn, multi decision journey into making it simple, analytical for the buyer, and taking it to market as one all encompassing product. What I mean by that is the idea was to say that multiple different considerations that go on into buying a home, largely from the point of view of where it's located, what is the kind of return it's going to give in X amount of years, all the way down to how big you want your kitchen to be. Various considerations. We wanted to make it very simple and complete product and project identification to be done online, but also being able to transact, visit, and discuss the same project or multiple different projects with one dedicated resource and to be able to take that product to market. So I think today we've been successful. Blocks has sold, we've had about 11 million new visitors on the platform. We've been able to sell 2,000 properties as such in Mumbai city across various micro markets. We all know that Mumbai is not one market. Mumbai is 28 little markets put together, right? So every market acts differently, but we are able to crack the code. And today we're very excited to say that we are able to sell homes online. We've had cases where someone sitting in Hyderabad has booked inventory in Andheri East. Somebody sitting in Dubai has been able to do a virtual site visit and then consecutively go on to booking that property online. So I think that what we set out to do, we have finally been able to do after 2.5 years and building about 6 products for different stakeholders in-house.
That's amazing because yesterday after you were telling me, I did go onto your platform. I was like immersing myself in many of your the different offerings, right? But just tell me something with all of these. I mean, you say you're a little different from the other platforms that's there in the market itself. So I just wanted to know, do you see any potential challenges or opportunities associated with what you are offering?
Right. So Fancy, when we started out, we were not the first PropTech players in the country. We, in fact, were a second or third boom in PropTech industry, which initially started with aggregator platforms. So we've had historically many platforms that enlisted properties from brokers, third-party users. But what we realized is it's not really serving a customer. After property identification, they still had to go get connected with a broker in an ordinary online to offline process. And what we got to know in our research is that broker in turn will suggest other properties to you coinciding with your requirement. So it's a very fragmented process. When we go online to buy something, something as simple as a bottle of water, what you're going to do is you're going to see the product, you're going to add that product to cart and receive that product. In real estate, that just didn't happen. So again, from retail, it was very shocking to me that why don't we have one simple process without all the friction points that is going to enable the buyer to be able to book what he or she is seeing. So these PropTech platforms inevitably cut the home buying journey only at being able to portray what options are available. What we were able to do differently is we started our entire tech development with a sales first approach for the home buyer. So everything that we have built so far, we have only made from the mentality of selling 100% of the projects on our platform, which is about 20,000 odd inventory that we have listed on the platform, is entirely for sale, vetted, with a 51-point checklist to ensure that the buyer is going to get what he or she sees. Once you know what it is you're going to visit, I will give you a relationship manager like a bank would. A bank would give you a relationship manager when you made some account with them. I'll give one to you just because you're on my platform, right? You're a startup. We want to get that enthusiasm rolling and change habits in India. So that relationship manager in turn will give you multiple options fitting your requirement, take you online, make you book whatever you want to, which is something that India didn't see before. Because for this to make it operationally relevant and to make it operationally possible, we had to develop 4 other products in the back end. So we have our own ERP that we use. We do not use Salesforce or Lead Square. We had to create an app for the developer. We also created an app for the broker because at the end of the day, we want the entire stakeholder system to work together. We're not here to replace anybody. We're here to make everyone work together. We have a relationship manager app which actually works like Swiggy. So if you were to go on my platform, Mukko Visit, my relationship manager will get a notification and be like, hey, Fancy is going to come to Bandra to visit this project. He'll show you the project. If you don't like it, he'll show you 4 more until you know what it is they want to buy. And they're all one phone call away. So we've realized that psychologically what a customer needs is insight, data, information, and some kind of human assistance. So we've provided that. And now we are able to sell homes online, which 4 years ago seemed impossible.
Yeah, because I remember when this whole thing started about like talking to a person in a phone on the other end, there was no face. It's just extremely difficult trying to talk to a voice, and you don't know who's coming on. Sometimes it's automated, and it's just difficult. So all this makes a little difference. Now, speaking about user-centric platforms, I just want to pull Titi in. Titi happens to be the co-founder of a really wonderful immersive platform called Trezi. And I know a lot about it as a workplace architect because, I mean, when they came out with it almost, I think, 10 years back, it was something that was like really different and very exciting for end users. Titi, I just want to ask you this question. So now, as a person who's come out with something like this, an immersive platform for a layperson, right? So, what are the primary challenges faced by designers during project execution, and how can your platform address that very effectively?
Thanks, Fancy, and lovely to be here. Thank you, Realty Plus, to invite us all and, for this panel. So, Fancy, as you know, and for the benefit of others, I qualified as an architect, and I did my education in architecture, and then worked with international design firms in senior leadership roles for almost 15 years prior to starting what I'm doing right now, which is the Trezi platform. During that journey of the professional practice that as a workplace architect, just like you, there were a lot of pain points that I personally experienced. So while we were doing some fantastic projects for the likes of Facebook, Google, and the top of the BFSI sort of customers, all the major global Fortune 500 companies, there would always be that whole gap between what we are trying to communicate in terms of our design ideas to the customer who's a non-architect or a non-designer. And the technology that existed, of course, I'm talking about 2001 to 2015, literally before, I really went on to becoming an entrepreneur and starting this whole journey. We used to have 2D sort of layouts and just some static 3Ds and 8 or 9 3D stills, and we had to communicate our entire design language for 100,000 square feet and 8 to 9 3D stills. And even the walkthroughs that existed were very, very sort of curated, because you had to put the camera angles in a certain manner. And if the customer said, hey, guys, stop, I want to go left instead of right, the technology didn't allow it. So, this used to be a real problem. People would imagine looking at those nice material boards, small little swatches of marble. They would imagine that, okay, they would have a completely white floor, and then when they would walk into a constructed space, they would look at that grain and say, hey, this is not what I had expected, or and this translates to everything. So our whole industry, which is a very large industry, by the way, I'm sure since this panel has so many people from the real estate side of things, it's a $13 trillion industry globally. And there is so much wastage that we generate, because it's been a very physical sort of a, touch and feel product selection kind of an industry.
And the fact that just wanted to touch upon what you were saying in terms of the wastage. Just because they really didn't know what was going to come out of the design, and when they see it and they didn't like it, like, I don't like it. Can you just break that down?
Yeah,
that used to be a lot of that also, right?
So, how much change used to happen, a lot of money, resource, effort going into making that change happen just because the customer didn't like it when they walked into the finally constructed space. So this became a real thing, and I was sort of deliberating. And while everything was great, there was really no reason for me to change because I was on the top of my game in my last stint, where I was the managing director for India for a very large Singapore headquartered design firm. I wanted to actually explore something on the immersive technology side, because around 2014, 2015, Facebook and now Meta had just acquired Oculus for $2 billion. And, there was a lot of conversation around the world about virtual reality, augmented reality. So I said that, why should VR and AR just be for gamers? Let somebody from the domain, and especially real estate, design, architecture, all of these are, domains where the whole visualization and experience side of things really comes into play. And hence I decided to sort of leave my cushy sort of a role and then, go on to the journey of being an entrepreneur. And since then, literally for the last 8 years, I've been completely and totally sort of, immersed in this journey. So today, Trezi is India's first immersive platform for the building industry and the world's first immersive platform for marketing building products. What we have is, of course, we have different sort of offerings for user personas like the architects, interior designers, and the design teams of real estate developers. And then we have something for the building product manufacturers and suppliers who create digital twins. They digitize the entire physical SKU-based industry using our technology, and then those digital twins are uploaded onto the cloud and then downloaded by the architects who are on our platform to give the customers a real sort of a feel in real scale and proportion. So, when you're walking inside your design, which is not yet physically constructed, and you're walking inside a virtual space, be it a shop or a home or an office or an airport, you can actually experience it in that X, Y, and Z axis, which even though we call them 3Ds, but when they are actually put on a screen, for me, it's a 2D. I mean, you call it a 3D, but you don't get a sense of what is the Z axis, how much space do you have. So with immersive technologies, we were able to actually transcend that gap. And now all our customers say, that we are able to do things 30% faster. So in my mind, if as an entrepreneur, as a startup founder in the field of immersive technologies and real estate, if I can save 1/4 of the year for my customers, they can go and get more business, they can become more efficient, they can get more revenues, and the whole process of that physical selection becomes lesser. So I'm actually contributing also on the sustainability side. I'm making this world a better place for all our future generations. So it's a very exciting sort of a journey. It's had its fair share of highs and lows. It's not easy being in a field which like what Hina ma'am was saying, and even for that matter what Shivani was talking about, is something which is traditionally been happening in a certain way. To try and change that, and it needs a lot of patience and perseverance, and you have to stick to what your vision is and continue the journey. So challenges have been many. I think the main challenge has been the change management. So everyone who we go to for our platform will say, hey, I'm able to sell, I'm able to visualize, my customer is able to visualize. I don't think I need to bring any more technology. So these are things that we
I
have
want to
to
come in the middle there, because when I actually put the goggle on and actually jumped into my design, my God, it's because we created it. Like, you're literally sitting inside and you're like walking. You are the person walking in your space. So I don't know how many of the designers that you're working with, I mean, or the end users, for instance, the first time they're using it, that excitement, there must be something you can talk about there. It's just a different immersive experience altogether, right?
Absolutely. And you are able to, I think, Hina
If
ma'am,
you're talking, we can't hear you.
You are on mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah, as she was talking, it sounded very interesting. So I went on to the Trezi website,
Yeah.
and it's very nice. It seems you've created content for learning also. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yes. For the
That's fascinating.
Yeah, so basically, when you're dealing with emerging technologies, that's what it falls under. Though it's immersive technologies and emerging technologies are all sort of collapsed here. You have to seed the user of the future. I find it easier to talk to the youngsters about using technology than the very set kind of businesses where, everything is sort of, oh, hey, we have a process, we don't want to change it. So that's why what you're seeing as the academy program that we run is basically in the schools of architecture and interior design, that we provide the Trezi software for like a really, really less cost. I mean, we do keep a cost because I think anything that's offered free is meaningless and worthless. People don't have any value for it.
Respected
So,
enough.
yeah, so that's why we have an academy program, and we have colleges like Pearl Academy and Chitkara University and Amity, and all these people actually use Trezi. Even otherwise, for our Trezi Lens Pro and Trezi Showcase, we have very interesting set of customers. We have enterprise customers, GMR airports, and I mean GMR who constructs airports, Delhi Metro Rail, Chennai Metro Rail. There's a lot of enterprise customers that we have, and we just also started our international expansion. So I'm very hopeful that despite all the the challenges in the times to come, this is going to be the way people work. It will not be that, hey, I'm used to when the new generation starts to come in, they will certainly use more and more of immersive technologies than the generation that is currently deciding on things.
Go away with those physical markups and just get into one of these, right?
Absolutely.
Honestly, it would make a huge difference. Now, speaking of other people who can use all of your technologies, right? I want to pull Shruti in. She's the Assistant Vice President at Tata Realty and Infrastructure.
Yes, we're talking to them, Shruti, so we should connect offline after this.
I was just going to do that, later. I would have done that, exactly just that.
Right. Okay.
Yes, Fancy, please.
Yeah, so Shruti, we also have this conversation, and you really have done so much that I didn't have enough time to go through half of what you've done. So I'm just going to like throw that back at you, because there's like so much you have like kind of brought, in terms of difference to Tata Realty. So what markets are you seeing growth in commercial real estate, and what factors are contributing to this growth? Would you like to start with that question, or yeah, over to you?
Of course, I can start with that question. And I would rather put the India office market perspective first before I tell you which cities are some of the driving factors for absorption. We all know India is a very buoyant and very resilient market. And even till today, what's happening across the world to where we are still, we're the only ones who are actually seeing progress. So we are extremely resilient. Now, the largest, India is the biggest outsourcing market, and it's still date the largest outsourcing market. Currently, the amount of office space that we have and I will throw in some data, and there's a reason why I'm throwing in some data just to put a little perspective of how vast this is. you know, and I remember Fancy and I were talking that data, whatever, but I just thought, let me put the whole perspective and then tell you which are the growing cities. So the India office market is about 880 million to about 900 million, less than a billion. So that's the office size market. And last year, you know, when we were talking about how 2019, we had the best year, everybody in office was looking forward to the 2020, and then it went down. 2023 proved that wrong. We had again remarkable absorptions across the country in office market. We had, I think, about close to 61 million square feet getting absorbed across the 8 major cities. With, I think, and every year we add about 45 to about 40 to 45 million square feet thereon. So that's how vast the India market is in terms of office. That's the size. Now, coming to what are the cities, I mean, the 8 major cities that are performing, Bangalore by far is leading the way for the past 15 odd years. They've last year, I think in 2020, again, the absorption that happened was about 15 million square feet. So by far, Bangalore has been leading the way in terms of office market, followed by Chennai. I think Chennai was surprisingly had an upswing last year. So Chennai has catapulted to this entire market. So it's Bangalore, Chennai, and off late we've also been seeing Pune, you know, taking up stride. I think earlier there must have been, to some extent, they were low in supply, but I think that's picking up. So Bangalore, Chennai, and Pune. And now to answer the second part of your question, the biggest driver for office market has been IT. And that's been happening for years. However, in the past couple of years, global capability centers have kind of taken stride. And they are actually competing with the IT sector in terms of creating that whole market for office. Also, with the existing GCs looking at expansion, we've also got newer ones coming in. So while these are the sectors that have kind of really augmented the whole office market growth, there are other aspects of infrastructural and urbanization factors that have happened in India. I mean, the growth we've seen over the past years has been remarkable. There has been this whole ecosystem of the new startups that are there. There is retail and e-commerce boom that's been happening. I think the government policies have become quite favorable. And nonetheless, you will agree that the investors are kind of getting attractive yields. So I think if we were to sum up all of it, it's been a great story for real estate as such. So yeah.
It looks like Hina wants to say something here, but do you want?
Yes, I thought it was quite attractive for the investors, apart from just art and.
Yeah, so yeah, it's been an exciting few years. Last 3-4 years have been great for real estate because you had instruments like REITs which got announced.
Yep.
So you had instruments instead of just having hard assets. So which meant new investors came into the market with new types of instruments. So the retail investor could also participate.
Retail investors.
Yeah. So
and with regards to REIT, we in fact, about 80%, there are many REITs to be listed. About 80% of the real estate is not even literally using the word REITified. So yeah, there's so much more potential in this industry at the moment.
Yeah, but currently, if you look at real estate, so again, I mean, Shruti can tell us more, but so many new sub-asset classes have come into play in the last couple of years. You have warehousing, you have data centers, and logistics, instruments like REITs, then larger players like Blackstone.
We've got fractional, fractional ownership is also coming into play, and that's getting a lot of weightage now. So yes.
Yeah. So there's lots happening. I think we are in real estate. We are seeing in India what the US was in the 1970s. So on one side you had capabilities, on the other side, in terms of execution, new technology and everything. And on the other side, you had burgeoning demand with an economy that was on an upswing, and together combined with financial instruments like REITs, which started happening, and more financial innovations to embed in these hard assets to make financing easier. That's what's happening in Indian real estate today.
Very interesting. But I want to just go and dig back with Shruti again, because as Tata Realty, right, Shruti, what are you doing differently from the rest of the developers in terms of the innovative strategies that you guys are adopting?
So what we've done, and I
What's
think
your differential to
just
tap
like
into
us,
major cities? Yeah, sorry.
so I think just like us, over the past couple of years, all grade A developers, and I will definitely specify what we are doing differently, but I think post-COVID, strategies have changed and they're getting more aligned towards, let's say, to healthier spaces. And you know how you're changing the experience of your office parks. The global occupiers today are actually looking at, when they look at a developer, they are looking at a couple of things. For example, if their employees are coming to a particular campus, is it healthy? Is it safe? Are you giving them an experience to come to an office park? You know, you have to get them after COVID when the work from home started. What is that motivating factor that you're creating within your ecosystem of office parks that will drive them to come? That's one ideology global occupiers are looking at. I think also giving them, and these are our brand pillars that Tata Realty really focuses on, is providing this a smart, safe, secure, and social environment to global occupiers. So one is health and safety, of course. The other thing is sustainability. And we all know that sustainability today, it's no more a boardroom conversation. It is actually action on ground across real estate. So they'll occupiers actually look at what kind of commitments have you, what are your ESG goals, what kind of commitments have you made? Are they aligning with theirs? And on the other hand, I think sometimes our conversation regarding sustainability gets a little skewed towards just focusing on, let's say, an environment, the kind of energy reduction that you're doing, what is the waste management. So what the subject is vast. There's also, you know, what are the governance that you follow? How are you managing that part of your business? How do you manage your partners? How aligned are you with this? What is your code of conduct or transparency measures within that ecosystem? So I think health and safety, sustainability, and I think
because of the fact that it's just not about just renewable energy. There's a lot more to it. There's what are the materials that are going into building your building. There's not enough, I think, information out there on that. So are we leaving it? Maybe we should be digging. This is like a huge, vast topic, like you said, and we need to have another panel on this. So I think on the subject of sustainability, I want to pull in Niharika from Knight Frank. I mean, she's driving, she's the president of operations at Knight Frank, and sustainability is a very critical concern, and she drives it from Knight Frank. So from your end, Niharika, how is this being incorporated in the operations and maintenance of developments? Because this should answer, I think, some of what we're talking about right now as well, Shruti.
Yeah, hi, Fancy, and glad that, I am listening all the panelists from the first panel till the end. Yeah. In fact, I'm in this space, facility management, for the last 22 years plus. And, facility management has really, gone a long, long way. And then we are evolving. We will continue evolving. Sustainability, ESG is an integral part, goes without saying. So let me tell you, the kind of size of market we are. Facility management market today in India is about 148 billion USD. It means, it's between the organized and unorganized sector. So what we see, and we take an accountability that we have huge opportunity because, as a facility management and facility manager, we have resources with us. We have all the crucial operational things with us. So what we can contribute, and we have to partner, within all kind of real estate segments, because we are into a very, very diverse sector. Like energy itself is a 30% in terms of kind of expense on an average from the expense point of view. And we have to be very, very cost efficient when it comes to the maintenance. Today, the infrastructure, whatever is being built, what is going to be, in future, it will be maintained, and the maintenance is taking the front seat. We all have seen during the pandemic and, continuously the way India is a under construction country, and we have to make sure that, all kind of requirements when it comes to the people, skilling people, trainings, and then the planet saving, and of course the profit for the developer and profit for, the operator, both. That can only come when we are talking about, the efficiency, and that efficiency can only come when we are very, very focused, and we have all ESG, this governance, environmental, things with us, social responsibility. We definitely, take pride that within the organization, we are very focused, and we have dedicated vertical. We are driving for our own self. So we will be net zero by 2030. This is our internal, targets. This is very, very comprehensive when we talk about the sustainability, starting from, the poverty. So there are basically three bottom lines when we talk about the sustainability, and the sustainability, basically development goals are from the lens of ESG, talks about 17 parameters. That is very comprehensive, including, the poverty. Nobody should have hunger, that kind of parameters, and the equality, we are talking about D&I. So that is very comprehensive outlook and framework where sustainability is taking next step with the integration of technology. See, we are sitting on the big database, and this database analytics is something, this is high time we must capitalize and utilize in terms of, our further course of action. So we are doing a lot in this area with our partners, because as you rightly mentioned in the conversation, we have to have supply chain management. We have to have, 100% partnership with our all stakeholders. And that's how we can, take it to the next level. In fact, sustainability is no more a fancy word in terms of, applicability. If you see, SEBI has already mandated that, sustainability reporting has to be done by the corporate. And it is going to take more stringent kind of a regulatory for sustainability. And we are gearing up from our side.
No, that's good to hear, because just yesterday we were having a conversation in our RICS platform, in fact, on the fact that we've got to focus a little bit more on the circularity of the way we are approaching our projects, because have we fully understood what that means? Because we all want to do good for the people, the planet, the place, but are we looking top down? Are we looking mid-level? Are we going all the way down? Are we looking at where the materials are getting dumped? There's so much more to this. It's not just about renewables. It's also about what goes into construction. It's also about what went into the material that went into construction. So there's a lot more that has to be, I think, a bigger focus. And at the platform yesterday, we're again just still starting, but I think we need to push this a bit more. And do you see that happening with people or the end user clients that you're talking to? Because it's not because at one time it was just all about just renewables, but are we talking a little bit more about the harder aspects of building the building sustainably?
Yeah. Yes, it is happening. So it's a journey, and we have to believe that it is going to the next. We are late. We are slow. We are late, but it is happening. And as I said, going forward, there are going to be regulatory bodies. So sometime, either it's a choice or the compliance, either of thing, you have to follow. But let me tell you, this sustainability is going to be more investor driven. none of the kind of infrastructure, if we are not focused on sustainability, it's going to be difficult from the investor point of view. So most of the things you see from this investor driven. So that itself is an answer that whether it is happening or not. So
I think
that's
we
all.
should outline what that means also, because most people seem to think it's just only about renewable energy, but it's more than that, you know. So
Much more than that. Much more than that. It's a complete well-being in terms of your water, air, waste, your diversity, inclusion. It's
universal
much
design.
more than that. So it's every point we have to touch upon.
All right. I think I'm not sure how much time we have, but I want to like kind of go because there's so much each of you are like, just contributing right now on this panel. Each of you are making so many significant strides in your fields, and all of you are just really amazing women. So I want to ask you, and I think I'll kind of go quickly. So if you could just keep your answers brief because we don't have much time. What has been the most rewarding part of your career so far? And have you faced any challenges, particularly as women in a traditionally male dominated industry? I'm sure you hear this a lot, but if you can keep it brief, and nothing like it. So we'll start with you, Hina, and go in the same order.
Well, I don't think there is any such thing as traditionally male dominated only one industry.
Okay.
Across industries, they are male dominated. Okay, so whether you're talking about construction, whether you're talking about real estate, whether you're talking about finance, whether you're talking about private equity, automotive, everywhere it is male dominated. And I think more or less there's a common thread between all of us because we would have faced the same challenges, the same gender biases. So it doesn't matter whether we are women entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter whether we are a second generation or a third generation of women entrepreneur, where we came from some patriarchal societies, or we are self-made women. It's just about how we tackle those challenges. I think we just need to get up there and just accept it and just take the bull by the horns. And on the other side, I think it's beneficial for organizations to ensure that they have more women in the C-suite because diversity is good for them. Like, you're talking about ESG and sustainability and all. So, a balanced board, a balanced management is always good. And for instance, organizations like ours, what we're doing is that for 5 to 15 years of work ex women, we have special leadership program, stuff like that. Because like I said, there's a common thread and we just need to get up there. And of course, all industries, specific associations also need to do their bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like something that we just need to just continue, just go onwards and upwards and move forwards and just keep doing what you have to do. Right?
Yeah, and stop. We just have to stop cribbing about it because it exists.
Absolutely.
It's there across the countries. What can you do about it?
Absolutely. Pulling Shivani in right now.
So personally, in my 13, 14-year long career, usually in my experience, I wasn't surrounded by a male-dominated culture, much like now I am in real estate. It's not just male-dominated, but the average age also, as someone who's turned 30 just a year or two ago, feel that the average age is also, generally with men in this industry a little higher. Personally, I didn't face any challenges or I didn't have to explain myself about age or gender, but that's only my personal experience. I have encountered some individuals, and I don't think that couple of people's comments is any reflection on the larger society or group of men in general, to be fair. Who have that old toxic mentality that women will work for a certain period of time or till a certain age. But those you just like brush off your shoulder, you move on. And personally, as a leader in my organization, I've ensured that we all remain gender agnostic and create a meritocratic culture. At the end of the day, the person best for the role should be encouraged to do the role well. So that's the culture that we've put in. Also, this is, I know that I am fortunate given that I entered this industry late. So I didn't have to face challenges. But that tailwind is also very strong now because now we are finally in the workforce with the Gen Z. Gen Z, who were born in 97 to 2012, are also now in the workforce, preferring, everything that we are hearing on this panel about like immersive and collaborative tech that is virtually possible. So I think that there'll always be some elements that you're able to brush off, move on. And if you're able to set a right example that if I am gender agnostic in my organization, the next person is going to be, and that is the culture that's going to seep through. And yeah,
No,
been
very well put, yes. Because it's not right now, I don't think it's about two genders anymore. We're talking about 7, 8 different genders, binary, non-binary. So like, a lot of it used to go over my head. And thankfully I have a Gen Z at home. I have a 21-year-old who's constantly educating me. So that's where my
fancy
education
looking at you. But also, you might be the first person in this industry to say that there are more than two genders. So, congratulations.
That's many. We need to talk about it.
Right?
Yes. Okay. So that from you pulling in Tithi, because Tithi, you are actually driving this to. I mean, this is like part of your profile. I can't see you. I hope you're there.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, yeah. So you drive DEI to some extent, and you have been like a huge voice in our industry. And how do you see this?
So I think your question, the initial question was that, what has
The
been
challenge. Yeah.
personally, how has it been personally rewarding? So I think for me, Fancy, I think I really feel blessed that, I had the opportunity to, like you said, to say something and to be a voice in the industry and that people listen, maybe just because of the amount of years I put into the whole thing. And plus the shift that I have made from working as a professional, as a creative professional to a technology startup founder, it's been very, very rewarding personally. Like I said earlier, also, it's been, it's not all been sort of easy. There have been a lot of highs and lows, more lows than highs, honestly. But it's still been a very rewarding journey for me. I think I've surrounded myself, I made a very conscious decision to surround myself with, like what Shivani was saying, people, irrespective of their gender, who are capable and who I can trust and who are the right people to do the job. In my 22 years of my professional career up till now, I don't think I have ever felt like, somebody discriminated against me because of me being a woman. In fact, I think it's rather been the opposite. I have got attention and, people have listened to me, maybe because I was saying the right thing. And, it was just that, not that I'm a woman. For me, I have not experienced that discrimination, but I have heard stories from others who have come to my company, and I also take a lot of pride in creating an organization with at least 50-50 male female gender ratio. And of course, we welcome all other genders. Like we were discussing, we must talk about inclusivity of all kinds. But I have heard stories that, I couldn't move up the career ladder because I had to take a maternity break. And I also had 2 children. And, in my first, when my daughter was born, I was back into a taxi and getting into a meeting on the 3rd day of my delivery. I have done some crazy stuff, but, I'm just saying that in the second one, I took my 6 months break. But thankfully, I was working in an organization that actually supported me. Others who have joined my organization have had horror stories that, I was laid off because of, the maternity break, etc. So it is a reality. We can't really say that it doesn't exist. It's just not happened to me personally, but I have a lot of empathy for women who have faced this. And we have to collectively, all of us, and all of us who are on the panel, but even otherwise, the whole women workforce, we have to continue our journey to be treated equally. That is what I would say.
There is this, a very famous sort of, it's a saying of some sort where, like, you shouldn't just be invited to a party. You should also be invited to dance at a party, right? So not just be there and be there, but you got to really participate, right? So
Absolutely.
that's what we should all be actually aiming for at the end of the day. So coming to Shruti, can't see you, but Shruti, the same question
Yes,
to you.
fancy. So,
Okay, there you are.
yeah, so I think, yeah, I'm there. Um, I think my journey has been of hard work and smart work and falling through and then so many times falling apart. But
You
just
have
the
great
very fact I really
energy.
enjoyed. Sorry?
Yeah. You have great energy, I say,
Just
all
the,
of you.
yeah, I think post 40 you tend to have more energy, looks like. The aspect that I want to talk about, I've been really enjoying the kind of work that I do. I've been able to tell some unconventional stories of the brands across that I worked with. So personally, in terms of my career trajectory or the journey has been fantastic. And coming to the second question, and I want to, of course, I'm going to give you a little example of the whole male dominated. Personally, I would also agree with Tithi and Shivani. I have not had the bias at all. I am grateful maybe for the organizations that I've joined throughout. I've been given opportunities. In fact, sometimes I felt, have I been given an opportunity because I'm a female or what? I don't know. But I have never faced bias. And so I've been extremely grateful for that. However, like, Shivani and Tithi, you all both mentioned, you heard stories. And of course, I've also heard stories. So when I said that being in this organization and as a marketer, I love creating unconventional narratives which can resonate with all of us. And this year for Women's Day, what we did was at International Women's Day, we did a campaign where we relooked at the game of chess. Chess has two queens, and it's such a male centric, the whole chess pieces are mostly male. What we did was to reiterate, and the campaign was called deserved, not reserved. So when you spoke about, the person should, it's just because you have a seat, it does not mean just give it to anybody, any woman, just because you've reserved it. It should ideally be deserving. And so we played with this entire campaign where we had these life-size chess boards spread across all our assets, with half the chess pieces painted in pink, okay, the cliche pink. And we invited people to engage with us and, play, take a chance and engage. The idea was, again, just to reiterate, irrespective of the gender, whether it's a game of chess or whether it's the real life scenario, irrespective of the gender, one can still achieve the goal that's needed. And I think that campaign, resonated so beautifully across all our people at our campuses that how could you even imagine you've rethought on chess? So yeah,
That's an interesting
agree with the
example.
both
Yeah.
of you that yes, it should actually be deserved more so.
Absolutely right. So, actually, I'm not too sure how much more time we have on this, but I do have one more question for all of you, if we have the time and we can make it a little brief. Basically, I think the last part of it is to do with the vision for this industry, right? So, as individuals in your separate different fields, what are you personally excited about for the next few years? And do you have any big goals or dreams that you'd like to share with this audience? Hina?
Um, I've been reading Nandan Nilekani's Imagining India.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so if you read that, I mean, regardless of the sector, whether it's real estate or any other sector, as India grows, there are lots of things that are happening in every aspect, whether it's the economy and everything else. I think it would be nice to just sit and imagine what India could be in 5 years or 10 years and see how we fit into it.
Fantastic.
I,
Okay.
yeah.
Shruti?
I think
Until
like I mentioned, the time that we have today. And I think we're very fortunate to be able to see the exponential growth that's been happening. And for us to be able to enjoy that, I think that's something I am extremely excited about, because India is almost like the next superpower. And I am fortunate to be a part of this entire change that we're going to see, and be involved and experience it. So, yeah.
Shivani.
So Fancy, you can't ask a tech founder to summarize what is going to happen in the future. I'll try my best.
Right. Yeah.
I think the way to go for the industry to come together and be able to truly organize itself and come and digitize itself, I think blockchain registration is one way to go in the future. Abroad you have MLS already, which doesn't exist in India, but we've started a start with data and having some kind of record keeping of sorts. The second is use cases of AI that enable buyers to buy better, sellers to sell better. For example, we have this platform for the developer that enables them to look at a data bank to identify what customers fit their requirement and vice versa, how we have an inventory for our customers to select from projects. So I think down the line, 5 years later, I imagine a future where you're able to talk to your platform and say, hey, I want to relocate to Mumbai in this location, looking for an apartment of 2 BHK for a family of 4 with 2 kids. Can you suggest me some options? And that AI, we're building one as well ourselves called Breva, should be able to tell you this is where you should go. If you have kids, this project has a park, this project has schools nearby. So this is the perfect place for you to be. Whether or not you're from Bombay, you should not have the decision paralysis that you would if you just went on a platform without any intent.
Fantastic. I would love to, kind of browse something like that. It's just, I wish it was there 10 years back. So our life would have been so much more
I would love
easier.
to show you around when you're in Mumbai.
No, I'm there. Coming to Shivani.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did I say? Not Shivani, sorry, Niharika. I'm sorry, Shivani.
No problem. In fact, our vision is that, if we can be completely digitalized, our service level, and if we can have Internet of Things, on various platforms, because we have huge utilities when it comes to the building management and so many activities. And if we can have one, platform where we can consolidate, upskill, our team, and at the same time, we optimize on the cost front. So that's how I look at.
Nice. And to round it off, Titi.
So for me, I dream of the industry being less wasteful and more digitized. I really believe that it is going to happen. We are all going to actually take those small steps that we're taking right now. That's going to actually, in the next 5 years, a lot of the wastages and the whole wasteful processes that we have in our industry, or the AEC industry or the building industry, will go away with all this digitalization that I think everyone is talking about. But in my personal case, the digital twins, the whole physical selection of samples, the entire flying from one city to the other just to co-locate, to have meetings, all of this is now possible, in metaverses that we are creating, Trezi is creating. We are creating digital twin cities. We are creating digital twins for building products. So all of this will become the norm, and we will have that our industry will be as good as any other industry which has digitized itself much faster.
No, and thank you for that. Because honestly speaking, I mean, I've been in this industry myself for 30 years, and I can tell you, like, from what it was 30 years back to now, we're talking, we're collaborating, and we're collaborating not only within our industry, we're talking to each other, we're talking to everybody, and then there's such a huge difference in the way we're approaching our work. So, I mean, you're rightly saying we need to talk, and talk in a manner that is just not too angry, but very calmly just go about just doing your work and just get it done, and somewhere it's going to start working. So thank you for that. So It's been a it's been my pleasure, honestly, to reach out to you. And I most enjoyed reaching out to you one-on-one and having a conversation with each of you. I mean, it's just really been even like a mind-blowing learning experience for me myself. Like, I'm a workplace architect, and Hina was saying, don't call it. It's not fintech. It's like real estate, management, and real estate financing. And I'll be, yeah, tell me the right terminology to say. But this is the way we kind of learn from each other and we grow. So, I mean, thank you. You've all been like really excellent. And any final thoughts, or do you want to just kind of sum it up in one word? We're
I
talking
think
about. I'll
it
leave
was
it-
definitely fantastic. It was indeed a fantastic session. And I think, as you rightly said, each of our speaker comes from a completely different background, different vertical of the industry. And, you kind of put them all together very well. And listening to all our speakers, the future seems really bright, as everyone has said, that the real estate future and the country's future is pretty bright the way we are going, the development is happening. And it was pretty nice to hear what their final thoughts about the future are. And we just need to, as Hina rightly said, we'll need to figure out our own place in that future, how we go about it. And also touching upon their, if each speaker also touched upon, as this conclave is all about women icons and women leaders, and you all touched upon your experiences, as a women leader, as women professionals. And in the last session also, like I said, if men are the part of the problem, they are also part of the solution. And I think we just need to probably think how we can make them an ally in make them also gender diversity advocates. And we all need to work together, as you rightly said, Fancy. It's all about collaboration and doing it in a nice, softer way, not aggressively. So
That's
great,
important.
great. Listening to you all, it was a fantastic session. Thank you, Fancy. Thank you, Niharika, Shruti, Hina, Tithi, and Shivani joining us for this final session of the day and for such a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bring us all
Thank
together.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely
Thank you.
show.
Thank you, Sapna. Thank you, Fancy.
Good luck.
Thank you, everyone. And that was indeed a very insightful session. And I'm sure our audience had some valuable takeaways from the informative and inspiring discussions of the entire day. And with that, we come to the end of this fantastic conclave. Thank you to all our speakers for making this edition of Realty Plus Woman Icon Conclave so enriching, interesting, and not to mention very inspiring. And thanks to the awesome audience as well for being here with us today and sharing their queries too. Let me once again, before closing, remind you all the 4th Realty Plus Woman Icon Awards 2024 will be held on June 13th, Thursday from 3 p.m. onwards. So do mark your calendars and we will see you soon. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Thanks, Sapna.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Some people are born to show the world which path to choose in a crisis. Some brands are born to do the same. And during the times of challenge, the stalwarts of the Indian real estate industry have chosen to do just that. By showing others the way to finding opportunities even amidst a crisis. By showing the world how to go about delivering on promises even amidst adversity. Success doesn't just happen. It happens by design. By pushing the boundaries, by raising the path. It takes days to develop a vision and nights to make it a reality. Knowing that pictures are worth 1,000 words and that every word makes a difference. It's doing the research, trusting your instinct, and finishing what you started. For the past 19 years, Realty Plus has been turning obstacles into opportunities, keeping the industry informed on the latest developments, innovating to inspire debates and discussions, bringing forth the perspectives of the industry leaders, honoring hard work and achievements, keeping the industry connected. This is what we are built on. This is what we are building. We are Realty Plus, and we lead the way.